put it on, then I can recreate that moment.
We can put a clap in somewhere.
No, I say that and I snap and clap and I never fucking edit it. You know?
I've never noticed though. Are the claps and snaps in there?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, yeah, we'll cut that out later. We never do. We just let it run.
Is that water?
That is water. All that coffee this morning at Cece's, I gotta rehydrate.
You know, there's water in whiskey, right? It's liquid.
I know, it's actually mostly water.
Is it?
I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah.
I think
It's like 45. If it's barrel proof, it's 50-50.
This is 101.
Oh, okay.
This is 103.
Okay.
103.
Oh yeah, and you gotta try this beer.
I do get to. Have you tried? You guys haven't tried it.
No, we
yet.
haven't popped it yet.
Yeah.
We wanted your...
This week's episode of the
Ride
Ride More Talk Less podcast is brought to you by
Bourbon.
Fighting Cock Bourbon. And where credit where credit is due, I learned about this bourbon from an interview several years ago, where the interviewer asked Johnny Knoxville, "Hey man, what's your favorite thing to drink?" And Johnny says, "Fighting Cock Bourbon." And I'm like, "That's not a real fucking thing, Johnny." And then I went to the liquor store and found it. Sure as shit it is. So, thanks, Johnny. Every Christmas, I watch all 5 Die Hard movies back to back, and I drink a fifth of Fighting Cock. It's my tradition, and I will be doing it until the day my liver says, "Fuck you."
Fucking screw cap.
Yeah, that's how you know it's good.
Yeah, convenience.
I'm gonna have to put this in the Ambler bottle. Give it a cork.
Oh.
Yeah. I told you, you're probably going to, I mean, unless
Is it
you're
a
a real
sweet-
man.
Is it a sweet bourbon?
It's not super sweet.
Okay, good.
It does have a bite because it's 103, and so you're probably going to want to drop a cube in it.
I like it hot.
Okay, if you like it hot, drink it hot.
I did make ice cubes just for Seth.
Or
True.
I do a splash of not cold water. I don't like the cold whiskey vibe. That's
No.
the only thing I like on the rocks is I do Jameson on the rocks.
Having done like 7 years, worth of.
They did not all freeze.
Oh.
Okay.
No,
That
but
is
some of
hilarious.
them froze all the way.
Having done 7 years of drinking a fifth of this over the course of like a day and a half, the ice helps.
Oh yeah, that smells like the medicine.
Grandpa's cough medicine. That's what I call it.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
Sounds like freedom.
Let freedom ring. Clang.
You pour that bitch up to the top of that big rock. Oh,
Cheers.
cilantro.
Where's that from? Is that what you say for cheers? Cilantro?
Cilantro. It's Spanish for cilantro.
Okay.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
And also, it's kind of a sound alike for slancha, the Irish toast for cheers.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Because I'm an asshole. Like, I say cilantro and I say donkey shit.
Donkey shit, oh baby, donkey shit. I remember when you tore your dress. What a mess, oh donkey shits.
Are you guys cold?
I was. That's why I
How you
kept the
feeling
heater
now?
on. I'm alright. You want to turn that heater off or turn it away from
I'm
you?
gonna bring it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that an option?
I mean, you can bring it down, but it's going off a room temp, so it doesn't really do much.
Well, if you got it up at 79 and it currently says it's 66, I think it may kick off here in a second.
All right, we'll see.
Hard telling, not knowing.
And little.
Oh, hey, there's your
Just 'cause.
cue for.
What
What if I do one? Does it fuck everything up?
No,
Yeah.
well now
We'll
I'll
just-
just
Now you'll look for the
fucking
spikes.
nice. Thanks, guys. I had a spike. Oh, what is this? Episode 5/3 of 7 of 9.
7 of 9.
7 of
Best Star Trek character.
I gotta tell
ever.
you, so I've been rewatching Voyager actually.
Yeah?
And yeah, 7 of 9. That's a special thing. When I was a kid, like I always knew that she was hot, but then as an adult, you're like, they just don't build women like that in the real world. Like,
Yeah, that's why she's on Star Trek.
Yeah,
'cause
she's
fake.
But then,
She was a Borg.
yeah, and they kind of gave her this weird one-dimensional character, and it's like she doesn't really have a personality, and you assume for the majority of the season that she's on there just because she's hot and she can't actually act. But then they have a couple of seasons where she has to like switch personalities mid-roll and do voices of like little kids and old ladies and men, and she changed her mannerisms and everything. You're like, oh wait, she's actually a really good actor who happens to be totally hot. But
Yeah.
They never expanded the character?
no.
No. Too bad.
Who's this weird guy sitting next to me, Adam?
That is Alex Schwartz. Alex, we might have to play with your mic a little bit. That's a little further away from you than I usually
If
like.
I lean in like this, is it good? Or are we still too far away?
I think if you lean in, you'll be all right.
Let's scoot in.
Typically, I get real friendly with it. I think I'm probably right about there where you're.
All right.
All right, so we'll restart the intro here. Episode something of the Ride More Talk Less podcast. Today in the studio, not at Legion, we have Alex Schwartz, who got a chance to sit with us at Legion for a little while and did a little banter over there, but we decided that a full episode was appropriate.
Hey, y'all. It's great to be on the show.
Alex, why don't you go ahead and give us an idea of what you're doing?
I like my
That
all my
that'll
profiles.
actually edit out for you.
That's why you threw him a curveball, Adam. Adam usually asks more pointed questions.
Yeah, we were really pointed at Legion. You gave me like a laundry list of 3 questions right off the top, and you were like, take 5 minutes, think about these, return your answer. Please make sure it's handwritten in all caps.
Okay, so I'll stop swinging from
double spaced.
Yeah.
I'll come at it a little cleaner. So why don't you give us tell us we covered what bike you ride, but that's going to be coming out in a couple of more episodes. So why don't you give us what bike you ride and your career path, and we'll start there.
All right. I ride a 2008 Husqvarna SM 610. And it's awesome, as Adam can now attest to. Got to ride it the other day.
I can now. I want one.
Yeah, they're great. Hard to find. If anyone out there has one that they want to get rid of, fuck Adam. Call me. I need a parts bike.
You fucking dick.
And my
that's we've talked about this a little bit. That is the Italian era of Husqvarna,
right? Well, Italian-German fusion era, which if you've never had German spaghetti before, let me tell you, it's delicious.
It's a marinara sauce with bratwurst.
Jesus. I'm just imagining like this fucking like gray thing of a sausage laying in a plate with like red sauce, and it's just like a cock shooting blood or something. Fucking gross.
Yeah, they're great bikes. They have all the spirit of an Italian bike with most of the reliability of a German bike.
You obviously haven't ridden very many German bikes.
Oh, no, I thought BMWs were supposed to be reliable, so it says like the guys at the dealership.
They have yeah, that's the thing. They have a great service department. That's what makes them reliable.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're a factory racer with a whole team of people supporting you, they're good bikes.
Fantastic.
Or if you got a credit card with a $100,000 limit and you're taking your bike to the shop every weekend to have it looked at and oil changed and all that stuff, it's fucking perfect.
Definitely not.
So as we're sitting here shit-talking German bikes, feel free to chime in, Sean Smith, with your opinion about German bikes.
Sean rips.
They're the best bikes in the whole world.
No, you know what? I can't fuck with how Sean rides that bike. He rides that bike. It is an old man bike, and you would never, ever know it. He looks like an old man the way he dresses, and when he's sitting on that thing in his Aero Stitch.
With ash on the back, going 125 mile an hour through a curve.
125 kilometers an hour.
Right, I forget it's a KM speedo.
Yeah. We're not trying to put anybody on blast here. I have seen him drag the lower body work on that bike.
I think actually one of my favorite things that he has floating around on his Facebook is a picture of him dragging knee and fairing on a Goldwing on the California coast. And I think that really just sums up his riding style.
That whiskey's trouble.
It's pretty hot.
We're I'm going to be puking and crying later. Okay.
It's going to put hair in your
I guess
chest.
we're going there.
It's okay. I'll hold your hair, Adam.
I appreciate it.
That's more than I did for him.
You just stood there and laughed.
I did.
Yeah. Threw a blanket over me.
Were you there?
No, I get the vibe.
Yeah, threw a blanket over me. He's like, you've been passed out drunk for like 20 minutes now. Can I go home? Like,
At least I threw a blanket over you, man.
yeah, woke up in a puddle of drool with a bucket next to my head. You took care of me. Made sure I had a puke bucket.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. And so you're one of those type of people that actually went to school and figured out like a life path, which
I don't know about that.
Well, you have something that you're working towards.
We are, yeah. So I'm just about finished up with law school here in Portland, and then in May I'm going to be moving to Massachusetts for a job. We'll be suing your state government to get you better health care. That's the goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
All of the different states, or just Massachusetts?
No, actually, we don't do any work in Massachusetts, really. A big case I'll be working on for the first year and a half is going to be in Kansas. I'll be flying to Kansas a lot.
Well, don't let them know that you're coming. Be stealthy about it.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got my square tip cowboy boots to wear while I'm there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You'll fit right in.
So we're going to hit on a subject here. It's a little off-brand for what we've been doing with the podcast up till this point. Alex is, of course, going to law school. He's got some really great information for us. One of the things that I wish I knew more about when I first started riding bikes was how to deal with things after I got in an accident. The first time I got in an accident, and it wasn't my fault, I tried to deal with the insurance company straight on. I didn't call the police. I didn't call an ambulance. I didn't know what to do or what to expect. And after 4 of those, I finally got a pretty good idea how to deal with it, but I really would have preferred having some advice.
Yeah, so let me preface this with I am not your attorney and I cannot offer you legal advice beyond seeking out the advice of an actual attorney. But in my personal experience, having been hit a handful of times now, mostly in hit-and-run situations, which obviously complicates things a little further. Your first move, if you've been hit and you're off the bike, is to call the police and file a report. Do everything you can to get an officer to respond to the scene immediately before you leave the scene. Not always possible. I was hit 2 years ago up on Killingsworth in a hit-and-run. I called the police immediately, called 911, told them I needed an ambulance. This was about noon. 6 p.m. rolls around and shift change happens. The new sergeant on duty calls me and says, "Oh, sorry, no one's coming." So I would recommend calling 911 immediately, certainly if you have any injuries. Even if you don't have injuries, get the police on site, and if they don't respond quickly, call that non-emergency line and hassle them and get them to come out because that's their job. Once you have a police report, you definitely have to go sit down with your insurer and deal with that, particularly if it was a hit and run or a situation where it's going to be your fault. And also, don't ever say that it was your fault or say that you were going too fast or anything like that. I would let your insurance agent do all the talking, see what kind of deal he's going to offer you, and then bargain away from there.
So what I've come up with in my experience is the first thing I do is I ask for an ambulance, no matter what kind of condition I'm in, because you don't know what damage is done until the next day. I've had times where I walked away just fine, rode my wrecked motorcycle home, and then the next morning couldn't get out of bed to get myself to a hospital. And that was hard to deal with. So now my first thing that I do is I call an ambulance, call 911, get them there. And then I don't even file a police report if it's needed when the cops show up. And then I don't file the accident report. I immediately call an attorney and I get a personal injury attorney involved. I don't talk to my insurance company. I let them do it. And that seems to be the path of least resistance. Cause
you don't even file the claim before contacting an attorney?
No, I let the attorney do everything. And that removes you from making any potential statements from what I've found to the insurance company that might shift their decision. Of course, uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists are excellent things to have. That covers you no matter what the fuck happens.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough how good insurance will save you in these situations. Adding little things on like equipment protection, accessory protection. You can even add protection for the items you're carrying with you. Like when I got hit on Killingsworth 2 years ago, I had my laptop with me and it was smashed. And I didn't have any coverage on carried items at the time. And that was a killer, even though I got a good payout in the end for, my pain and suffering and the medical bills and the bike and everything. I was still out $2,000 for virtually a brand new laptop that had, and nobody, no other insurance was going to cover it. So
I ran into
get it all.
Yeah, I ran into something like that. There was a couple of things in the accident that they didn't want to cover. My cell phone, my sunglasses, some items that were on the bike, and we went round and round, and what I wound up having to do was tap my homeowner policy to replace the items that were damaged, and then also my auto policy for the things that were directly related to the vehicle. The problem with that was now I've got 2 deductibles involved and 2 different insurance claims going on. And so both my homeowner policy and my auto policy took a hit. Whereas if I would have just worked ahead and talked with my insurance agent about what I want to make sure is covered, I definitely would have had things like my cell phone should be covered because that's in my pocket, and when I wreck, it's going to get fucking destroyed. And I wish I would have known that sooner for sure, because having a double tap policies gets to be expensive.
Yeah. The other thing I would recommend, and this was totally, I learned the hard way in this accident on Killingsworth, is don't underestimate the long-term medical costs to the recovery of even a pretty minor accident. I didn't have any broken bones. I had a previous back injury that basically was flared up by the accident, and they covered me on about 12, I think almost 12 grand worth of back stuff in like the first 6 months. And then they basically like pressured me into closing out the claim, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. You know, $18,000 sounded like a huge windfall. I was like, this is great. And here I am 2 years later, I still pay for a chiropractor appointment out of pocket every other week, every week when it's bad. And that's something that's going to stick with me for, you know, maybe the rest of my life, certainly a long time. And something I definitely should have fought harder to have them shell out more cash. And the more you can like emphasize the long-term effects of whatever your injury is, the better you're going to do. And also know that your insurance agent's number one job is to close the claim as quick as possible. Because the longer things drag out, the more things like the, you know, recurring back pain and whatever that come up for people, and then they have to cover it. So, you know, your insurance agent's going to try and close you out in like 10 days after your accident. Don't do that. Just wait. If you have to get an attorney involved to wait, then you can do that. Certainly if you have bad injuries and you think it's going to be a real fight with the insurance agent, it's great to involve an attorney early. And if you don't know an attorney personally or can't get a reference from a friend, I would suggest contacting your local bar association. Every state has a bar association. And you just tell them you need a personal injury attorney. In most states, you can say, I need a personal injury motorcycle attorney, and they'll give you an even more specialized list of referrals. But yeah, don't close that claim early. Leave that open as long as possible, because things will come up later, and they will cost money.
And I think that's something that people don't understand. I think that you have 1 year to claim the accident to claim that the accident happened and your property damage. And then once the claim is open, you have 2 years to settle the claim.
Correct.
And that was something else that I wish I would have known, because you do have to fight it out. And when you do get in an accident and you're going for full recovery and you want to make sure that you're whole, you should really plan things out for that 2 year mark. And in Oregon, at least, I know that they will pay out your property damage and your motorcycle and things like that on a separate payment.
And they'll leave the medical for later.
Right, and then they'll hold out the medical. So if you've got, you know, a $10,000 bike and $5,000 worth of gear, you get a check for, you know, $11,000 minus your deductible, and that'll help to kind of carry you through. The other thing that is nice with having an attorney or a lawyer involved is that they can keep everything out of your credit. So they'll get in contact with all your doctors and the ambulance companies and all of that, and you'll stop receiving bills, and they'll know that there's a settlement coming. And most of them will even set up a separate account where they will, when you get your settlement, they'll pay everybody off, and then you'll just get the remaining amount for the pain and suffering.
Yeah. The other thing I would really emphasize is, and this again was learned through my own personal experience, while it may be tempting when you're getting what seems like a low offer to say, all right, let's take this to court, I'm going to sue your pants off. Just remember, the insurance companies spend a phenomenal amount of money on attorneys. They have good attorneys whose only job it is to get people like you to go away. And certainly if you're saying, I'm going to take this to court, and you don't already have an attorney involved, that's the signal to them to like cut you off, shut you down, and you're probably going to end up with less than you would have otherwise. I think taking a cooperative approach and understanding, like, this is a service you pay for, the insurance. It's a service you pay for and that they have to deliver on when you've been hit. And if you work with them cooperatively in the beginning, certainly things can get to a point where you have to involve an attorney. But I've had a few accidents where my insurer was, I wasn't at fault, but it was a hit and run or underinsured motorist. And they were good about it as long as I stayed, peaceful, more or less. But I've definitely had situations where I tried to get combative and tried to be like, this is ridiculous low money, you gotta give me this, you gotta give me that, or like, I'm gonna sue your pants off. And nobody likes that vibe.
Yeah. And in minor accidents, I found that my insurance company was actually went well beyond what I was expecting. So I did have just a little low speed 5 mile an hour thing where somebody cut me off, and I dumped the bike, and I called them up, and we settled on the damage on the bike really quick. That was easy. And then they called me up about pain and suffering and medical, and I was like, well, I didn't even go to the hospital. I just got some scraped knuckles. And this isn't to quote a dollar amount for anybody, but I was like, I'm really not looking for a settlement on that. And they're like, well, you do have injuries, so we've got a personal injury claim open. We're going to offer you $1,500 for your scraped knuckles and the time that you missed class and things like that. And I was like, well, yeah, that's fine, man. An extra $1,500.
It sounds great, but they did a similar thing with my back. They were like, here's a few grand, like, you should take care of whatever chiropractor you need for a limited time, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of money that you're dangling in front of my face. But, like, with your knuckle thing, you could develop some sort of, carpal tunnel, arthritis or something in your hand, and you work with your hands. That could prevent you from work, which is why they offer you $1,500 up front, because they know if that develops into something in 2 years before you close the claim, you can get a lifetime worth of money out of that, saying, you can then probably have to go to court, but then try and prove, like, here's the ability of work that I've lost, and I'll never be able to, like, do this level of work again because of what's happened to my hand, even though it seemed like a minor injury. And that's why they throw that $1,500 at you, even though you were like, oh, no big deal, I just scraped my knuckles. They know that could turn into something big, which, again, is why I would just say, wait it out. And just, if they're pressuring you to close, say, I'm still not feeling 100%. I want to see where this goes. I know my rights in this contract between me and the insurer, and I'm going to use those.
I think that's good advice for sure.
Is that why I've gained so much weight and I'm depressed all the time?
Yeah.
It's because of my accident where I totaled my Yamaha.
Absolutely. You're
depressed
from not
get
being
the
on your
depression,
motorcycle.
and then, the depression spirals into the weight gain.
Yeah, I settled too fast.
Yeah.
That's why.
Don't do it with ladies either.
Just a sloppy piece of shit. Settling too fast with ladies? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay.
So
solid advice from our friendly non-legal advisor.
I will say the Fighting Cock, it's hot. It's got a lot of booze in it.
Yeah,
but a couple of sips into it, and once your taste buds start to numb out from all the alcohol, there's some really good character to that.
I love it.
It's spicy. There's vanilla notes. I've got some brown sugar in there. It's really tasty. I'm digging it.
There's a reason I drink it every year.
I'm feeling a little red already. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I can't wait until we can get some Dickel in here, because I want to do some Dickel Blacks and Picklebacks.
Dickel and pickle.
Adam, always rely on that guy to shoot his wad early.
Can we garnish the Dickel with little pickle chips on the rim of the glass?
Fuck, we can do whatever we want. This is America.
Are you saying that needs to be edited out later? We never get back to those, but I'll try.
Yeah, I love it. I love knowing that you do these things to be professional and clean it up and tighten up the presentation, and then you don't. It makes me so happy.
I mean, one of these days, like, I think so. Total income earned by the podcast at this point is still negative several $100s.
Yeah.
We have no sponsors. We have no financial backers. So I just, working a full-time job and doing this, it's hard for me to go back and get the editing time in that I want to do.
Yeah.
But
I think
one of these days,
appreciate that organic feel of it, at least at this stage. When you have to satisfy not only a subscriber base, but sponsors and whatever, it's got to have a different feel. But in this stage, I'm really liking where it's headed.
Oh, it's fun for sure. And
we're definitely going to have to discuss the level of profanity if we get some kind of sponsor. Like, is this sponsorship right for us? Because they said I can't say the fuck word.
I mean, we're definitely not going to be...
I can't imagine Dickel would say that.
I mean, we're definitely not going to wind up with, like, a diaper company sponsoring us because
Huggies 10 for 1.
I don't know,
with
man.
our promo code.
Enough of us have kids that we could end up with a diaper sponsor for this podcast.
I just know that one of these days we're going to wind up on a string of dead baby jokes, and it's just all going to go downhill. Let's not do that right now.
Tostitos that won't go to.
We're not doing that today. That's not
man.
this.
That's one of those things. I love a good crass off-color joke as much as the next guy. I'm not entirely sure I want it recorded and posted on the internet for the rest of
That's
eternity.
for sure. Yeah, I don't need to record that for prosperity.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We got the legal shit that we were thinking about talking about. Let's see. Other than you have any other general advice? Like, what about DUI? What's your suggestion? You get pulled over. You maybe had like a beer or two. You don't necessarily know where you're at. Is there any way to navigate that? Or what is the best case scenario that you navigate that? Should you just own up to it and blow, or?
Yeah, if you've only had a beer, well, I guess in Oregon, or what is it?
It's 0.05 now.
0.05.
Yeah, 4 or 5. It's low.
It's low. Yeah, I mean, I would always say honesty is the best policy. I would own up to what you've done. Obviously, my main advice is don't drink and drive.
Of course.
But yeah, own up to what you've done. If you're fucking smash driving a car, like, you fucked up, man.
Yeah, so
you fucked up.
No love on that. We're not going to give you tips on how to avoid the Dewey.
No, if you've had a beer or two, definitely own up to that. You know, I had 2 beers with dinner. I was out with the girl. Like, you should be able to blow under a 0.5. If you had a 2-hour dinner and had 2 beers with food, you should be fine.
So,
but if you get dinged, if you blow and that red light turns on, then immediately shut your mouth and call an attorney.
That's solid. So I had a friend of mine who, we'll have him in here on the podcast one of these days. He'll probably retell this story in better detail, but he had wrecked his bike by himself. Nobody else was involved. He had some drinks.
Oh, I would walk away from the bike for sure.
So
that's just I think where my mind would be at in that moment would be like, I'm getting out of here.
He was unfortunately injured and couldn't leave.
Okay.
So the cop followed him back to the hospital and kept trying to get him to take a breathalyzer test, kept trying to get the nurses to draw his blood against his will. And he blew him off and blew him off and blew him off.
That's
and
a Sixth Amendment violation.
The cop stayed in the hospital for I think it was like 8 hours, and then dropped a citation on him for a Dewey and then left. And when it came around to his court date, they dropped the charges the same day as his court date because he never actually blew and never got a blood sample. Was never able to do a sobriety test because he was injured.
That brings me to another great piece of advice about dealing with police generally. Don't believe whatever they're telling you is the situation. Like, get a Know Your Rights card. Put that shit in your wallet. Read it daily. And if some cop, like, first off, if he didn't see you on the motorcycle, he just saw the aftermath of this crash and assumed you were drunk and tried to breathalyze you, he has no evidence to show that you were operating the motor vehicle while drunk. There may be circumstantial evidence. The bike is here. It presumably was somewhere else before. But, like, just never trust what the police are telling you.
Yeah, because we get into job duties, right? Like, it's the police officer's job to create an arrest.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to serve and protect, as the title says, but to create an arrest.
Yeah, and that's a product of, I mean, every city and department is different, but I know a lot of Oregon departments, the Portland department, West Lynn, several of them operate under quota programs. Where
that's the biggest load of bullshit.
Yeah, there's a bonus structure for cops doing more ticketing or more arrests. And yes, eventually that does turn into some shady business where maybe cops are creating situations that should have been created, or, you know, certainly situations where, like, their resources are probably better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be a anti-cop or blaming the police force for the situation that they're in. I mean, a lot of them do great work, and I really appreciate having them out there. They're put under these impossible circumstances where it's like you have to go out and pull down so many citations today to make your quota for the month. And so
it's a messy business.
And how many times can you miss that quota before your job's on the line?
Yeah, and before the department's funding is, like, in a mess. I mean, I think a good thing to remember here is every cop is a man before and after he clocks in.
Right.
Or a woman. And they're people too, and, like, they're just doing a job. But, you know, financing a police department is a complicated thing. There's not enough federal and state dollars in it. And then you end up with situations like Coos Bay, your hometown, where they basically have a privately funded branch of the police department that's funded by a Canadian oil company. There's actually a really good article in Oregon Live, Oregonian, this past week about this, where they have a whole privately funded branch of the Coos Bay Police Department that's dedicated to keeping protesters and people who are against the natural gas development in Coos Bay off of that land and away from there and not making a scene and not making the news. And yeah, the whole department's funded through a private grant from this Canadian energy company that presumably is looking to build the natural gas. Not a refinery.
It's a pipeline. Yeah,
it's a pipeline. Yeah,
pipeline, and they're going to have a kind of a refinery facility there,
like a depot where it's stored in big tanks and then dished out. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that it is. It's all. And I've had that argument with a few people. They say that what is it? The Dakota Access Pipeline, is that the one that's coming out of Canada? No, it's a different
that's the oil pipeline that came out of Canada and ran to Galveston.
But I think that it's the same company that's involved. Anyway,
yeah.
So it all ties in. It's the same political BS that we're dealing with, and my parents are directly involved with that. Their property, they're talking about fracking near their land that they have that's way out of town, and they require, they live off of the water that comes up out of the ground there naturally. If they start fracking, they lose their water supply, and they don't have city water. So that's a big concern. There's a lot that goes on with that.
You don't want to be able to light your tap on fire.
No, yeah.
Hey, I'm for petroleum.
I'm for petroleum, too.
I ride a motorcycle, and it runs on dead dinosaurs, and I will...
But it doesn't run on natural gas being fracked out of your neighborhood.
I mean, not yet.
Yeah, that would be fucking scary. Can you imagine a motorcycle with a compressed natural gas tank?
Into it. I'm into it.
That'd be crazy.
Fucking bomb when you rear end somebody.
Yes, please. I don't want to burn alive for 5 minutes.
You just want to be vaporized.
Go. Yeah, exactly.
More fighting cock, please.
Yeah, it's like when you're talking about
somebody's sleeping on the couch later.
No, the lady said she'd pick me up at 4:30.
Oh, nice. So. That's a heavy pour.
Excellent. Yeah, it's just one of those. It's like when you're talking about barbecue. Like, I would rather go out in a massive explosion than slow and low, like my brisket.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure how you were going to wrap barbecue back into that. But yeah, I don't want to slow burn either.
So let's see, what else we got going on?
Well, I mean, I'd like to come back around. Ostensibly, this is a motorcycle podcast, right?
Right.
We only really, yeah, bro. We only briefly touched on what you're riding now, but I'm kind of curious what else you've ridden, how you got into motorcycling, what brought you into this community, all that kind of fun historical jazz about Alex Schwartz.
All right, let's zip back in time. I grew up in Massachusetts, where there's definitely less...
More like Taxachusetts.
Yeah, I fucking hate sales tax. Garbage. Although, we could probably use it in this state, let's be real. But yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts. Not the same kind of motorcycle scene we have here at all. Most of my exposure to bikes growing up was, lame old dudes on Harleys. No offense.
Oh, ouch.
Go fuck yourself.
Shots fired.
But no, nobody with a dope.
You invite him down
Dyna.
here. You give him wings. You give him whiskey, and what does he do? He talks shit about your motorcycle.
No, nobody.
It's all right, man. No,
nobody
it's cool.
I grew
You don't
up
have
had
to
a
make
dope
excuses.
built Dyna. They were all on fucking $40,000 baggers with $30,000 paint jobs, and they left the garage 2 times a year. That was my exposure for the most part, and I was like, "This is weird culture."
That's a reasonable beef about motorcycling. It's one of those things I talk about. Like when I see a bike on Craigslist, and it's like, "Garage kept, never ridden in the rain." Why don't you go suck a fat one, man? Fucking, you don't like riding motorcycles? I'm keeping it as an investment. I'm gonna use it to put my kid through college.
Oh yeah, if you're buying a new motorcycle as an investment, you've made the wrong choice.
As soon as you wheel that thing off the lot, even if you wheel it directly from the dealership into a hermetically sealed trailer and leave it there, it lost a third of its value.
Yeah, you might as well just, if that's your idea, is you're buying it for an investment, just take half the money, light it on fire, and then
go buy a real bike.
Yeah, go buy a savings bond with the rest.
Yeah.
If you want an investment.
But what actually got me into motorcycling was like a combination of, we had like a little 70s 100 DT or something like that around the property when I was growing up that, would like tool around in the woods or whatever. But when I was about 12, this kid in a neighborhood nearby, a new like subdevelopment in my town that had a beautifully new paved cul-de-sac that was like a mile long. His parents got him a little mini chopper, a little like 50cc mini chopper with mini apes. And first time I rode that thing, no helmet on, my long hair blowing out behind me, I was fucking sold. I mean, I was probably going 12 miles an hour down the neighborhood street, but I just felt like a fucking king on that thing.
So this long hair is not a new thing?
No, I didn't have a haircut until I was like 10 years old.
Shit.
I've had long hair pretty much my whole life. I've gone through some phases where I shaved it and did different things. I had 12-inch purple Liberty spikes for a minute. But those days are, for the most part, behind me. But yeah, riding that mini chopper when I was like 11 or 12, just hearing that burble of the engine and like feeling that like turn of the throttle results in me moving forward was a really transformative thing. And then, my older brother had a Suzuki sport bike when he was in high school that I'd tool around on here and there. But for the most part, that was a piece of shit and never ran and was just rusting in our driveway. And I came out here to Oregon. I'd never owned my own bike. I was like 19. A bunch of my friends had KLRs and DRs and were playing around in dirt roads up on Mount Hood and stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, this seems like a good time. I should probably try this out. And then I discovered this whole community and have never looked back. This has been my Portland community for 6-7 years now, and people are great. I meet new people in this community all the time. They're all rad. They all come from really different backgrounds and are all doing really different shit, but we all come together around this love.
It's a great community that he can't wait to leave and move back to Massachusetts.
No, I'm so sad about leaving.
You got to follow the money, man. I get it. You'll be back here.
That's the 5-year plan.
They need lawyers in L.A. too.
Oh.
I'm not moving to fucking L.A.
I don't think anybody wants to move to L.A. I mean,
I know quite a few people who
want to
alienate
our 2% of our listenership in California.
I know plenty of people who want to move to L.A.
I could do Northern California.
I'm not one of them. Well, it's because Northern California is just Southern Oregon.
I know.
As evidenced by the fact that they're trying to split off with Southern Oregon and create their own state.
I just couldn't do the no seasons in Southern California. Having grown up in New England, and I mean, we basically have no seasons here. And
it's rough, yeah. When
I miss the snow.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I miss the snow.
When I was living in LA, I was.
You're a weirdo, man.
What, you don't like getting up at 5:30 in the morning to shovel your driveway and clean off the car and salt everything? No, I don't like that either. But
when I was living in LA, it was that was really fucking depressing. I thought having the sun all the time was gonna be nice and never having it be really cold. It was just this. It would just go from oppressively hot to just depressingly gray, but it never felt cold. It never got wet.
Did the monotony of that bother you? Because that's like what I think would bother me is just like, you don't wake up and say, oh, I wonder what it's like outside today.
It's 75 and sunny is what it's like outside.
Well, in February maybe, but then all summer it's like, it's 4:30 in the morning and it's already cresting 90 degrees. And you're just like, oh God, what is going to happen today?
Not in San Diego. Yeah. But in LA, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, and I was in the valley when that was going on, so that was God's frying pan out there. That place was shitty.
Down in the valley, like, totally, for sure.
I didn't ride while I was down there. I just had a 10-speed bike. I couldn't afford a car. That was the thing. Like, I was making more money than I made in my life, but I still couldn't have anything. Yeah, everything was more expensive, and especially if you're in, like, the entertainment industry down there, and you're just starting out, and, like, it's there's a bunch of bullshit that goes on. Like, you get a job working on a movie set, and you're in a couple of days a day rate, and then sure enough, Friday comes along, you get your paycheck, and then Friday night, the guy who got you the gig calls up and says, "Hey, I got you that job. If you want another job, let's go out and party tonight." And then you watch your whole paycheck go away, and there you are. Like, it's just a repetitive fucking mess until you get settled in and noticed or whatever. But I wasn't there long enough for that. I dealt with that BS for a little while.
I've heard stories about moving down to LA for film jobs. I got a buddy of mine who moved down there and ended up living in the IKEA for the first 3 months he was there.
How do you fucking do? Is it a 24-hour day IKEA?
No. No, you just hide.
Fuck
you
yeah,
hide
baller.
when they close, and then you sleep in a fake bedroom overnight.
That guy's my hero.
I mean, I didn't wind up...
Calvin, hearts out to you, man. You fucking killed it down there. And now he fucking lives in Malibu.
I'm just thankful I never wound up in Chatsworth doing porn, you know?
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, I was going to say, when Adam talks about the entertainment industry in Los Angeles.
So my roommate down there, he would get hookers and then videotape it. And they called that being a porn director. Are you serious?
People do that here in town for Hump Fest all the time. I know several people who have done exactly that for Hump Fest.
Nah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not legal. It's it's a perfectly valid way to make that happen. But to call yourself a director is maybe a bit of a stretch. Maybe.
He's mispronouncing fluffer.
Yeah, there we go. So what else is new? Let's see. You check the emails for Ori Gun Run and the podcast. Have we heard from the guy from Slovakia yet?
No, not that I've seen.
One international listener.
I mean, I think he's either re-watching stuff or we've got more than one person over there, because that's still, maintaining close to 10% of our listenership.
Nobody is listening to the other Adams episode 5 times in a row.
No.
I just can't believe that.
Yeah.
He's a great guy and he's funny, but
I
it's
mean,
a 2.5 hour episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you listen to our stuff once all the way through, you probably got everything you needed out of it. Especially if you're drinking whiskey with us, you're not going to go and want to go back and do that a second time.
So actually, on that note,
Text me the Wi-Fi password and I'll check the email now and see.
You gotta scan
QR
the
code.
QR code.
Oh,
but yeah, in terms of people drinking with us or with you, have you thought about live episodes?
That might happen in the future. I just don't have the technology to make that happen right now. And there's also that I'm worried about what I might say.
Live,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we haven't been worried about what we say in pre-record, and we just post it as though it were live without any edits.
Well, but by the end of it, we know if we're going to get called out on anything. And we've never said anything that bad. We're generally pretty good people.
I mean, you can
generally,
you can be a good person and still say some malicious shit.
That's a fact. I'm
unintentionally.
I try my best to avoid that, but I find I'm pretty poor at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an effort. It's something
I didn't mean to put Sean
at.
on blast, but
I mean,
happened.
I don't think you put Sean on blast.
No, he would probably welcome being talked about that way.
Yeah,
he's a ripper.
He's an excellent writer. He's extremely knowledgeable. Every conversation I have with that guy blows my mind.
Yeah, what we were talking about with him yesterday, what bike was that we were talking about where he's just unloading. Oh yeah, it was about the difference between the KTM LC4 and the RFS engine.
Yeah, and he was able to break down the internals, the cases.
Told us every part that was different.
And also your Husky was in that conversation too. So there's 3 different motors, and he was able to compare and contrast all 3 motors.
Yeah, because like me, like an idiot, I was like, oh yeah, my Husky's just like an LC4 motor flipped around with the exhaust coming out a different side and the chain coming out a different side. And of course Sean was like,
well, actually.
Yeah, it's not how it is, but
Hold on.
Yeah, that guy's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I would never would have gotten into this Husky had it not been for Sean, actually. I was on a KLR, and I met Sean when he was working at Bridge City, where he's back again now, and the KLR was considered total by the insurance company. Drunk driver hit it while it was parked in front of my house at night. I mean, like, that KLR totally could have been brought back to life. It just had plastic smashed and shit like that.
Well, yeah, but
Sean was like...
It's a KLR.
Yeah, exactly. It's a KLR, but I didn't know at that time. That was the only bike I had ever owned at that point. I had ridden other people's bikes, but that's the only one I had any real time on. And he was just like, yeah, the insurance company's offering you $3,000 for a KLR with 30,000 miles. Take that and run.
Take the money and run. Yep.
And yeah, and he tried to get me into a KTM 450 Supermoto and his own, which at the time he was thinking about unloading.
I love it. Oh, man, actually, I know the perfect bike for you. I just happen to own one I'm trying to get rid of.
Yeah, but yeah, he's the one who got me into the Supermoto life, which, oh my God. I think if you live in a urban or even like semi-urban suburban area, I don't know that there's a better style of bike for your around town duties.
Yeah,
he said
supermoto?
duties.
Duty. I love supermotos.
Duty rocking everywhere.
I really like the idea of supermotos, but then after riding yours the other day, I mean, I didn't take it for a long ride, but
it's not a long ride bike.
No, but it blew my mind around town. I was like, oh, this is just the perfect thing.
The vibes weren't too intense?
The vibes weren't too bad. I was up high enough that I could see over the top of cars. I was, it felt nimble. It definitely had the throttle response. If a small child walked out in front of me, I feel like I can bunny hop or wheelie over the top of them. I could at least get the front wheel over them and clear them long ways and just have to drag the back tire through the mess. But I'd be okay.
Man, I can't. I also like supermotos in theory, but I do know, like, as soon as I threw a leg over one, I'm gonna be looking for a 10 set. just get weird, man. I gotta jump.
Yeah, that was
jump stairs for days.
Yeah, it's the Home Depot out in Beaverton, which is like my local Home Depot. You turn right off of like 217 or whatever, and then like the entrance to their parking lot's like fucking eternity down the road, and then you got to come all the way back up. There's a great staircase right by the corner of the building that goes right into the easy parking. And nice. Yeah, if you have a supermoto, things like that are an option.
Yeah, I dug it. I was going down 28th, and they have all those speed bumps on 28th, and it was really difficult to not just feather the clutch and just pop right over those things. Like, I really wanted to, but I kept it under control. It was fun.
I'm sure that Alex appreciates you not abusing his bike.
Well, I did come back.
Honestly,
he heard me rip out, and I came back, and I was like, hey, man, is your speedometer off? Because it was reading like 21 miles an hour. He's like, yeah, if it was saying that, you were probably doing 70.
I have been trying for like 5 months now to find the right position, because like my Speedo's one of the magnetic ones, and so like the reader magnet is on a bolt, and it's got to be just threaded to the exact right depth to read accurately. And I've been turning that thing a quarter turn this way, quarter turn that way, half turn this way, half turn that way for months now. I don't know. I may have lost the magnet. It may just be a bolt now. I'm not sure.
Well, you know what? Part of your problem is if you turn it a quarter turn one way and then a quarter turn back the other way, you're back where you started. You got to go quarter turn one way and then a half.
See, she's been
We've
bouncing.
tried many positions.
He just keeps bouncing back and forth between the two wrong positions.
Yeah,
that's fucking.
It's possible, but like I don't know. What do you need a Speedo for anyway? If you're riding in the city, there's other traffic dictating how you drive and
Ricky Bobby that shit.
Yeah.
So supermotos are fun. We figured that out.
I mean,
don't get a DRZ though.
I've only ridden one, and it was a DRZ, and I got on there.
That's why you're not on board, because you rode a shit pig.
No, I'm not against it. I had fun. It was.
I'm going to say that like
scary.
a DRZ is a perfectly capable bike for somebody who doesn't want that fear.
Honestly, I think it's a great first bike.
Absolutely, or
great
second
first
bike,
or second bike,
or extra bike
for a friend.
Yeah,
I don't know. Once you've
like a house bike for when your buddy's visiting from out of town.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah,
they're dead reliable. Like you could never change the oil on them, and they'd still go. They wouldn't go nicely, but they'd still go. But they're fucking heavy, man. They're really heavy, and that's to me what the best part about a supermoto is being sub 300 pounds, ideally sub 275 wet, and just being able to throw that thing around.
I had one of those. It was called a Grom.
Oh, no.
I like Groms.
They're fun, but they're their own thing.
I just know how much trouble I got in, or could have potentially gotten in on that Grom. And to think about something that is that light, that nimble, that slim, and that much more powerful, it's just a really, really bad idea for the teenager inside me that I can't seem to murder.
That's fair. Oddly enough, motorcycling is like the one place in my life where I'm pretty good at exercising self-control. Yeah. And like I think that's what enables me to everyday ride an otherwise kind of nasty supermoto.
Is that why you went into law? Because you didn't realize what the end game was and what you were signing up for?
For sure. If I could give anybody out there who's like, oh, maybe I'll go to law school, my advice is just don't. Like, go do something else.
Law school is the vintage motorcycle, the vintage Japanese bike of educational decisions.
Yes,
he says that
is. No, it's the '60s Triumph. of educational decisions.
You know, he says that now, but I have a couple of friends that are lawyers, and when he's got a motorcycle parked in his garage in San Francisco, and he has a motorcycle parked in his garage in Portland, and he's got a plane that he commutes back and forth on, and he owns property out in Washington that he just goes and plays around on when he wants to, with a giant shop on it. All of a sudden, law school is going to make sense.
It's only 3 years.
Right now, I understand that it's a trying situation for you, but you got a bright future. You're going to do fine.
Thank you, Adam.
Especially if you were like a criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
Go to work for
lawyer.
the work for the mafia.
I would like it.
No, actually, my great uncle was a mob lawyer in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to do that, and you got to say like, look, the one deal is you can pay me, I don't know, $50,000.
$1 million.
No, but you can pay me like oh, I don't know, half of whatever the going rate is for a mob lawyer, but I'm not going to sign an NDA. I'm going to tell everybody my stories
I'm
about working
a book
for the mob.
after this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to like work some case like that, that's like real spicy and saucy, and write a tell-all about it after.
Have
And
you
now
watched
no one is
McMillions?
ever gonna hire me because they're gonna think I'm gonna write a tell-all.
Have you guys watched McMillions on HBO?
We, my roommate and I just watched the first episode before she went out of town for the weekend, so we got 2 more to go.
It's on
How-
the watch list. Is it good?
It's good, but how are any of those people still alive? Like they're like naming names about mafioso and stuff that are built into these like multi-million-dollar scams that went on for years and years and years, and these people are just like getting interviewed in their houses. And every time I watch it, I'm just like this is not the 70s or 80s anymore. Apparently, it's okay to just talk about this stuff on camera, and you're not worried about somebody coming and knocking on your door.
It's like the Boondock Saints. I shouldn't have done that. You're not supposed to tell anybody you're gonna kill them no more.
Right?
I gotta tiptoe through the fucking tulips with these assholes.
I'll have a Coke then.
Speaking of off-color jokes,
Sorry about the cough. I think I'm getting a little bit of a cold. I'm gonna burn it out with a little more whiskey.
it's herpes.
It's not herpes.
Oh.
It's not herpes. Don't no.
Although
Don't
I've
you
had
put that evil
fear.
on me, Ricky Bobby.
Hey, don't you wish that shit on me? You take your own fucking festering sore dick and go someplace else with it.
God, thank goodness I didn't catch that from anybody.
Yeah, and all your wild days.
Yeah, my wild days. I'm a maniac.
Yeah.
Speaking of maniacs, I wonder if Jay's gonna stop by tonight.
It's a really solid question. It seems like he would have said something to one or the other of us. Not that you're not thoroughly exciting, but if there's a guy who likes to talk,
Jay.
it's Jay.
Yeah.
We can just sit back and drink whiskey, and he will just run the show. It'll be real easy.
Yeah, I can't wait to get him on here.
Yeah.
Alex is like pulling teeth. I gotta look at him, make eye contact, and be like, "Are you gonna say something, or do I?"
And then he keeps looking at us while he's talking, so I'm not even sure how these levels are going to turn out.
I mean,
it's probably
he's
going to be the worst
definitely low.
interview we've ever had.
Yeah. This is the last time we let a guest pick their own microphone. We're just
Yeah.
gonna glue one to their face and make them walk around with it for the rest of the night.
It's fine. It's good if our levels are all right because he's boring.
Yeah, and we'll just talk over them anyway.
I'm kidding. I've thoroughly enjoyed having you. It's great.
I'm glad. It's a fun experience.
I am bummed that you're leaving, but now I know I've got a place in Western Mass to crash if I ever need to.
We should do the 20.
What's that?
We should do Highway 20. It goes from Newport, Oregon to Boston, Mass.
Goes all the way to downtown Boston, but
No
comes
shit. I wonder if that's
right
the.
through.
I wonder if that's the highway that 1919 bike from the one show took.
Probably. It's
Maybe.
one of the oldest roads, one of the oldest cross-country roads in America. My mom actually just sent me a text the other day. She didn't know this. She's lived in Boston her whole life. She was in
It's pronounced Baston.
Boston, Mass.
Cambridge. Yeah, she was in
Where the
Central
smart
Scare.
kids are.
Yeah, you know,
She
you
know how
got
to
your
bang
Gordon Wood.
Does she know how to bang on Yui over there or what?
Hey, you like apples?
I got a number. How do you like them apples? Don't sue me, Matt Damon. I just heard a story about that. I didn't know that. I don't know if you know this or not. So Matt Damon is friends with Trey Parker and Matt Stone
Oh, really?
from South Park.
Really?
That's how he ended up on being the butt of a joke in Team America World Police because he's friends with them. So what I heard, not verified. We don't fact check on this podcast. Just so you know.
No, it's a podcast. We don't have to be accurate.
Yeah. So the story that I heard was Matt Damon actually came in, recorded lines for his character Matt Damon on
That's too
in the movie, and then they just dubbed over him Matt Damon. he didn't know until he showed up for the premiere of the movie. They didn't tell him that they had done it. He shows up to watch the premiere of the film. He's expecting to see him play himself as a puppet, and it's just Matt Damon.
Oh, that's fucking terrible. I love it. I love it. That's fucking creative.
Matt Parker, Trey Stone, hashtag. Hit us up if that's a true story, because I really, really hope that it is.
Hey, get at me, bro.
Put us in the next episode.
Or Matt Stone, Trey Parker. I don't know, man. I've had some whiskeys.
Matt Stone,
and
Trey Parker, and Matt Stone. Yeah.
I said it backwards once, guys. I really apologize. Your show is hilarious, and I love your faces.
Yeah. So while we're on that note, what do you guys think of the representation of bikers in South Park? 'Cause it's certainly a certain segment of our community that is represented.
I'm going to say if it's South Park, Colorado, I think they're nailing it. I've been through Colorado. I know the type of people that I interact with there, and I wouldn't expect anything else.
No, I was just in Durango 2 weeks ago, and there's a Harley dealership in town, and they nail that.
Yeah.
That's a vibe.
Did you see the Simpsons episode where Marge was in lumberjack competition and they were in Portland?
In Portland?
Yeah.
It was perfect. Like they really nailed the look of Portland. It's kind of disgusting. Like, I think I used to live in the house that they were using as an example.
It's possible.
It was definitely southeast.
They out Portlandia with that episode.
Yeah, I'm not on the Portlandia train at all.
You know what? It's been enough years now that I feel comfortable telling this story publicly.
I've never watched one episode.
I watched what effectively became the entire first season before it ever aired, because I had a roommate at the time whose buddy was doing sound mastering for the show. So I saw all of what was effectively season 1 before it aired, and it's the only good season in my opinion.
That's the season
they started taking their responsibility to spoof Portland too seriously. The first season was like so absurd it was good. It was like everything was accurate-ish, but it was
the right level
intentionally,
of over the top.
intentionally like the perfect level of caricature of what it was representing. And then after that, it just like they dialed it up to 11 and it lost something.
It turned into one of those caricatures you get at Six Flags of you with a whirly hat riding a unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just constantly got in fights with their film crew around town.
That was my issue.
I drive down the street every day. You can't just stop me from going home.
Well, on the plus side, the show's over.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah. I wish that detective show based in Portland with Dwight from The Office as the detective. Fuck, I can't remember. It got canceled after like 6 episodes, but I thought it was
they
great.
didn't need to have it continue because now they've got Stumptown, which is such a very accurate portrayal of what it's like to.
But Stumptown's not even filmed in Portland.
It's not. That's why I was
Canada.
a bit.
Yeah.
They do.
It is based on a comic book that is written by an artist from here.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if that guy lives here.
He does.
Still.
No,
okay,
that
so
he runs actually
the source
a pretty
material,
big comic company here.
The source material is great. They have mishandled it, and that's because Robin Sparkles is not a seedy private detective.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't get that reference, I'm rewatching How I Met Your Mother
sure.
right now. So
that
Robin
makes
Sparkles is a character from the anyway, whatever.
That joke didn't land.
It didn't because I'm the only one who's ever rewatched How I Met Your Mother.
It's like I just watch Everybody Loves Raymond when I'm bored.
I constantly rewatch Supernatural, which oddly comes back into that because that's all filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because like Leverage was filmed in Portland, but then it's set in Boston.
Boston, yeah.
It's like I remember like I was downtown. I was walking to work one morning and a car blew up 2 blocks down the street and I freaked out and I started running over there and there's cops racing to it and I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be crazy. And one of the cops that blows by me, it says Boston Police on the side of it. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I come around a corner and there's like smoking car upside down in the middle of the street and all this mayhem and a film crew. And I was like, oh, fucking Leverage.
Yeah.
Took a right-hand turn, went to work.
Have either of you seen Eureka?
I love that show.
I have not.
I think it was on Sci-Fi.
It may have been on some other ones. I think it wound up
or
on
CW.
Sci-Fi.
Was it after the rebrand? Because I really can't. I haven't been able to get on board with anything on Sci-Fi after their rebrand.
No, this is old. This is from like 10 years ago.
Oh,
that's
more
still
than
after
that.
the rebrand.
More, yeah, actually, you're
Yeah.
right. Probably early 2000s even.
Yeah.
So when
Early
they
mid-
started calling the channel SYFY, I stopped watching the shit that they
Alright.
put on there.
This show is great. It's like supposed to be a small rural town in Oregon that is owned and operated by, is it a private corporation or the government? I can't remember now.
I think it's like half and half.
Half and half. But yeah, it's like future tech development city in rural Oregon. And then there's like an old town folksy cop. And then it's like a police procedural episode to episode. That shit is fucking gold.
Yeah, it's great.
One of my favorite representations of Oregon.
Adding it to the list. That is where I would build a future tech company. If I was building a future tech company.
Yeah,
would
there's
be
like a bubble over the
rural-
whole town.
rural Oregon.
You get to a fake blown out bridge that like if you just trust you can walk across.
And so that's our first hour. You guys ready for a break?
Yeah, I need a piss.
It's Puddle's Pity Party.
What's that?
You've got a fucking painting of this guy in your living room. You
No,
don't
I
know
don't.
who this is. Yeah, you do.
No, that's not who that is.
That sad clown with the crown in your living room isn't Puddles.
No.
You're wrong.
No, it's not.
I don't know who you think it is, but that's
It's
who
a
it is.
self-portrait of the artist.
Did he paint it? Because that's who it is.
I will text him and ask him. I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Morgan, who's that portrait of that you painted that Megan owns?"
Yeah, because
No, you're right. There's like a
It's
clown
Puddles. Like whether or not he wants to admit it, there's his inspiration.
Okay.
He's not doing anything original with the little crown on the head of the clown.
Like I said, if you saw this kid, actually, let me pull up the.
Is he like-
It's not going to help because you would have to see the painting next to the portrait to the picture of this kid.
Yeah.
But that
Is he
painting
7
looks
feet tall?
exactly like him.
Is that kid that you're talking about 7 feet tall? No, because this guy's like 7 feet tall. He's huge.
Clowns are supposed to be funny, clown.
Wait, you don't know Puddles?
No, man.
Oh, so this can't be your introduction then.
I gotta say, I love the Nelly lyrics on the bathroom door.
Yeah.
No, not the comedian Morgan Murphy. My friend Morgan Murphy.
So this is the Puddles track that got me hooked on watching his stuff. It's a duet with one of those shitty America's Got Talent people.
Is he always in a clown outfit?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he always does cover tunes.
Real burp.
Going nowhere. Going nowhere.
I love that I just like randomly send my mom this kind of stuff and she loves it.
Yeah, who wouldn't love this? This is beautiful.
So we went to the Pacific Northwest College of Art. There's another self-portrait that he did. That's what he looks like.
See, but that looks like him. The one
But
in
it's the same, like, except he's looking down and he's got the crown over his head.
This is this
and
guy?
he's wearing
No.
clown makeup.
No, he's not. He's pale and washed out. Like, look at the picture again when you come over.
Okay, because I walked in your house and I looked Megan in the face and I pointed at the painting and I said, "Is that Puddles from Puddle's Pity Party?" And she's like, "Yeah." So she either didn't hear me or wasn't paying attention.
Mad
Now when you go home and you look at her, you're going to be like, "Motherfucker, that's Puddles."
I want to know who she is.
Her name was up a minute ago. But yeah.
I just want her to sit on my face.
Dude, she doesn't do anything this good ever again.
I don't care what she does.
she
I
does-
just want her to sit on my face.
Yeah, this
When she
whole
does
vibe
this
she's got
style-
going on right now is really working for
Yeah,
me.
she does a whole CD that's this style and it's fucking great. But everything else she does is trash. But this is amazing.
It's too bad.
Do you remember her name?
I can look at it real quick. Haley Reinhart.
Did you say
Yeah.
Amy Winehouse?
Haley Reinhart.
Are you recording
Although,
again?
I'm guessing that, yeah, I've been recording the whole time.
Oh, it's beautiful.
As soon as you didn't know who Puddles was, I started it.
Oh, beautiful.
Because I knew I was going to call you out on that painting.
It's fine.
This isn't going to go live, though. This will have markers, and I'll be able to take this whole section out, I swear.
Here's hoping. Because I did just say I want this young lady to sit on my face.
Oh, she's a fucking spinner.
Said it and meant it.
Yeah, she's a spinner. There's no doubt.
Especially since he's 7 foot. She's like the perfect height.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, well, he's probably 6'4", 6'5".
Does he have a... I'm just going to Google him right now.
Yeah.
Mike Gear, known as Big Mike Gear. 6'8".
6'8". Yeah.
Fucking giant.
Yeah.
Can't imagine living life that
So
tall.
she is a beautiful height.
Yeah, well, in this like vaudeville style that she does is just awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's the kind of crooning I love.
Yeah, he does Tom Waits covers and all kinds of stuff.
I'm always trying
I just looked at him for a second, and I realized that he does have the same like triangles above and below the eyes that are like around the painting. You're probably right. I mean, to me, that painting, knowing the artist, that painting looks like that artist.
And it could be that the artist like did a self-portrait of himself as
Puddles.
Yeah, with the
So
mentality of
one of the
he sees
things about
himself
it is
in
like if you look at his crown is like curved out at the top.
Yeah, bent. It's
Yeah, and the painting is not. It's
in the movies.
love this song. Out of my dress.
No postcode envy. Everybody's like,
This is fucking gold. Cadillacs in our dreams, everybody's like, diamonds in the timepiece. Oh, we're trying the beer.
whoa.
Hey, look at that little volcano.
job climbing.
Royals, royals, blood. Crave a different kind of buzz. Ruler, ruler, you can call me Queen Bee.
I'm sorry, is that why they call her Queen Bee? Did she give herself a nickname?
No, Queen Bee is like, she's the fucking queen of the game. Bee Beyonce.
You know, actually,
I don't
this
know.
was her. This
But
is
maybe she
Beyonce.
did give it. No,
No, this
Oh.
is Lord.
Lord, right?
I don't know who that is. Oh, so Lord is... See, fucking this is how much I don't give a shit about pop music.
Yeah, I live under a fucking rock. I thought this was like Beyonce or something.
No, this is Lord.
No.
I don't
No, you're
fucking know.
definitely right. Like, I've now definitely heard my girlfriend say that and correct me on this multiple times. Been in the bathroom, blood stains, ball gowns, trash in the hotel room. Oh man, I haven't had a hotel party in a long time.
Definitely Lord. Thank you, Google.
Oh, you know what's coming up is the beer brew party. We should talk about that a little bit.
The
Aren't
what
we?
party?
We're doing that again in April, aren't we?
I gotta confirm. I have a call on Wednesday with... Are you still recording?
It's not legal advice. I just want to be clear to anyone who's maybe already listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stop doing the intro and outro music unless it's public domain. I might dig around and find some more public domain stuff.
Just go back. What you gotta do if you want to find public domain stuff is go back.
You just have to Google public domain and then whatever genre you're
No, but I
looking
mean,
for.
if you want like good music, right? If you want like solid tunes for intro and outro, what you do is you go find a song that Elvis recorded and then find the original black artist that wrote
Right.
it.
Yeah,
and
I
then
do that a lot, actually.
Then use the original version.
It's actually, I lost a lot of my favorite bands in my life because of that. I started researching back to the roots of the music and then finding out who they never gave credit for.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really turned me off on a lot
You know
of stuff.
that you know that the song Butterfly by Crazy Town, it was written by Anthony Kiedis. It's called Pretty Little Ditty.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
Oh man, I gotta look that up right now. I love that song.
As we were talking about credit where credit is due, in the album, it is listed as being written by Kiedis. So they credited him for writing the song, but they
Pretty Little Ditty?
Yeah, their song, like "Come My Lady, Come Come My Lady."
Oh, it's on Mother's Milk.
Yeah, that's a Red Hot Chili Peppers song, and that's what they got famous for. Like that was.
Oh, you can't play that here.
Yeah, we're recording, bro.
Sorry.
Damn it, dude. Come on.
18 seconds.
We had 2 chords. It's fine.
18 seconds.
Yeah. So what kind of woke me up to that was actually Nirvana Unplugged. They actually gave credit to Ledbetter for the In the Pines, and I was like, oh wait, who's Ledbetter? And so I started looking, or Leadbelly. Ledbetter? Leadbelly.
Yeah.
So I started looking him up, and then I found out that everybody ripped Leadbelly off, and he died poor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's not fucking cool.
White privilege, bro.
Yeah.
And there's a few other songs on that Unplugged that they pull from other people and credit them verbally that are really, what is it, Lake of Fire? Who's that by originally?
I don't know. You got fucking the world in your hand. Figure it out.
I hate having
Let me Google
computers.
that for you, bro.
Lake of Fire.
I realize this is some old shit, but speaking of having the world in your hand, one of the things that I learned, I go random places and I meet random people,
the meat puppets.
and I end up with these little fun tidbits of shit. And one of them
Under
was
your fingernails.
Yeah, exactly. From oil checks, or from levels. Anyway, one of them that I ended up with is back in the day before I got my first smartphone, and we started all pretty ubiquitously carrying around computers in our pockets. I was at the Multnomah Falls Tourist Information Center, and I had my phone out, and it was just like a shitty little Samsung flip phone. And the guy's like, you know that phone has more computing power than the computers that we used to land on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like not even a smartphone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Technology is nuts.
I was just I was
future
watching,
is now.
There was an astronaut that was on Joe Rogan that was talking about that, and he was really excited about the private sector getting involved in space exploration because NASA had to stop developing a new space shuttle because everything in the space shuttle equaled up to the equivalent of like a smartphone, so that it needed a complete retrofit.
Well, yeah, that, and then like building technology to go into space. Technology evolves and grows so fast that by the time they're ready to launch that ship, it's obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, what does it take to build a space shuttle? That's got to be 20 years of R&D at least.
Oh, for sure. SpaceX.
And 20 years ago, I mean, we were still using, well, I guess that's only 2000 now, so that's flip phones. Most people still had home phones. Maybe there might have been a couple of smartphones.
The iPhone 3 was like the first legit iPhone. The first two, like, kind of, they did this and that, but they didn't really work that well. The networks weren't set up for them. But to me, like, the iPhone 3 was the tipping point of, like, what we now think of as a smartphone.
Yeah, that was the first, like,
and I
real
think that
legit
was,
one.
what, like 2007?
Yeah, so I guess
I was in high school,
long.
so must have been.
But you think about
5,
the difference
6,
between
7,
like
somewhere in there.
Yeah, just in smartphones between 2000 and today, and then you think about space exploration and all the computations that are required with that, and map knowledge and everything else that's involved. It's pretty complicated. But yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Let's not forget too, when we went to the moon, a huge amount of the computation was done by humans.
Look underneath that paperwork in there, on that middle shelf. Is there anything left? No. That's where they would be. Oh, we're all out.
They're no more in the dispenser?
No more Oreos. Yeah, we went through 4 boxes of Oreos.
Oh, I thought you were looking for the cup.
Oh, they're in the water cooler up front.
Yeah.
I thought you were looking for Oreos.
For cups to pour the fancy Christian beer in.
Yeah, we're gonna give that a shot here in a
fancy
minute.
beer in plastic cups.
That's not a religious orientation. It's the name of the guy who made it.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of space travel, when we went to the moon, most of the final computation was still done by humans.
Yeah.
It was the big data crunches that happened on a building-sized computer, but then the final equations were still worked out by humans. Now, not only are we doing that type of equation on our tiny little smartphone, but we're also doing real-time changes in that equation with multiple variables.
How's that fighting cock treating you?
The fighting cock is, it's got a lot of fight in it.
It does got some fight in it.
I'm fighting back as hard as I can.
It has 103 fights in it.
Turns out I only have 102 fights in me.
So it's winning.
It's winning at the moment. But, you know,
Christian's
I often
beer
think...
has a really nice color to it.
Think of when the whiskey wins, I win too.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what you think of the flavor notes on this, because Christian's really proud of it, and I want to see what you can pick out. He gave me everything that's in it, but I'm not allowed to tell you until you taste it.
Yeah, both Adam and I know too much about this beer, so we'll need the fresh palate.
Oh, it's the two of you. You both know.
I don't know as much as Adam.
He's been talking about it for the last
Christian
couple weeks, but I helped him work out a few of the things for it.
A little ass into this is going to be hilarious.
It's okay. Ryan likes thick, chewy beer, so that'll work out all right.
I like my beer the consistency of a Charleston Chew. Honestly, one of my favorite candies, though. Love a Charleston Chew.
Right out of the freezer.
That's just that just reminds me of the what do American lagers and sex in the canoe have in common? Adam?
Fucking close to water.
Hey!
Oh.
Okay, so you guys know everything about this beer and I don't. I know that it's warm. Is it supposed to be a room temperature beer?
It's fine. Yeah, it's tasty.
Beer's beer.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
As I learned from... Oh, there's too much going on. There's something spicy in there.
Yeah, it's like a little spicy, a little citrusy.
The one-itude is directly proportional to the colditude of the one. Therefore,
the fucking what?
The colder a one is, the more of a one it is.
What happens between 1 and absolute 0?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
That's just from that. There was an old Flash. So now that they're tanking Flash and it doesn't exist anymore. And now that they're throwing Flash out with the baby and the bathwater, all of those Flash-based sites like HomestarRunner.com are going away, and we lose things like strong bad emails. And there's a strong bad email where the guy asks, like, "What do you think about beers that are room temperature?" And he's like, "The colditude is directly proportional." Or the one-itude. He's like, "I like a cold one."
Oh, the want-itude.
The one-itude. No, one. Like, I like a cold one. The one-itude is directly proportional to the colditude of the one.
That was a long way around to get to that story.
Yeah. I mean,
I appreciate it now.
It's a dumb story. This is what happens when
wrapped it up.
This is what happens when we get into the fighting cock.
Oh, it's true. It's true. Part 2 is always rough, and if we get into a third part,
I can't
Jesus.
pick this stuff out. There's something spicy in there. Like, it's not Tabasco, but it's like...
Oh, it's not Tabasco
like
at
cayenne.
all. You are so far off if you think there's Tabasco.
You're going to be surprised.
No. There's like
keep mulling it over.
It tastes like there's a throat bite of like cayenne is what it feels like.
Which is odd, because there's no peppers in it.
Spice of it. There's no heat from a pepper. It's definitely...
So you want the...
I mean, I got nothing. There's a lot of flavors going on.
Although I have to say, after hearing Christian's description of what went into it, like I definitely like it, and I like that this flavor profile is coming in a lighter beer. That I think normally you'd find this kind of thing in like a porter or a stout, which is just not my vibe at all. So I like getting it in a lighter beer, but I'm not sure I'm getting like the whole list of things that I was told.
Yeah. So
it's on the. I'm generally a dry beverage person. Like across
you like
the board.
dry liquids? Can you elaborate, please?
As opposed to sweet.
No, yeah, I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, I know. You're stupid, but you're not dumb.
No, it's true. That's a good description. I should get that as a bumper sticker, maybe.
Yeah. I'm stupid, but I'm not dumb.
I mean, yeah, the lifted Jetta wagon is an excellent example of I'm stupid but not dumb.
Yeah. We'll talk
I'm going to get you a bumper sticker that says, "Don't laugh, mister.
You're getting off subject too soon."
Daughter
we need the beer.
We're talking about this beer. Like, I got nothing. There's too many flavors going on. It's a little on the sweet side for me.
So after I tell you, you'll pick it up on the exhale and through the nose. It's a blonde ale with coffee. That's all that's going on there.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you exhale through the nose, you'll pick up like that kind of coffee on the back. He wants to kind of double the coffee on this, which I think might be a good idea, but it's kind of it's interesting the way it is. It gave it a richness, and it definitely has like a nice creamy head. Ryan, you want to try some of this creamy head? Yeah. There's one of those over there for you, too.
If you put more, I don't know, doubling. I might go up incrementally. But if you add the acidity and bitterness of the coffee, if you up the acidity and bitterness of the coffee, it's going to cut the sweetness, I think.
Which I think would be a good thing.
I would prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it needs more of a hop profile.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not a real hop fan, though.
I love hops.
I'm not a wild hop person. I'm not on the double, triple, quadruple, million fucking times IPA madness.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Those are some of the best.
They're not.
Hops was never introduced to beer for being flavor. It was meant as a preservative.
Yeah, just enough is nice.
India Pale Ale was designed for the India Trading Company, and the British added hops to the beer to make it hold up to the long journeys that it was taking on the ships.
Which explains why it's not in the laws of the German beer purity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be fresh beer. No beer brewed under German purity should be drank after, 45 days after release or bottling or whatever.
Yeah.
Y'all know a lot of shit about a lot of stuff. We talked about like the technical shit that goes on in a space shuttle and beer purity laws in Germany. Jesus.
We missed out on, like, folks haven't heard this yet. Maybe we'll do a quick re-record of some shit, but one of the things that we didn't get into is, like, what are you into besides XYZ and motorcycles? And one of them is I became pretty rapidly kind of a knife nerd. And that's one of those other things. Like, you guys know a lot about a lot of shit. And so, for those of you listening who are from the Portland area, last week, Les, the founder of Benchmade, passed away. So a lot of us nerds are carrying around Benchmades in honor of, intentionally, that, like, you know, people who own multiple different brands of knives. I'm intentionally carrying around Benchmades.
I'm not a knife person. Not that I don't have any knives. I worked in kitchens for a long time, so I got a lot of that kind of knives. But in terms of pocket knives and hand knives and stuff, I've just never gone down that path. I don't know too much about it.
What, are you a communist?
No, definitely not. But I was going to say, there's a lot of crossover between, at least in the Portland motorcycle scene, between motorcycle people and knife people. Like, you, Dave's big knife guy, John's big knife guy, who was on the show in episode 1 or 2?
2.
2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode
He's
2.
a big knife guy, and I don't know. I've learned probably actually very, very little about knives, but to me, what feels like a ton about knives in the last year or two, just talking with you and talking with Dave, hearing about the different styles of scales and the different style of blades and the different types of steel that go into it. Yeah, I'd love to both learn more from you in the long run and, like, hear some sort of cool rundown about what knives are about.
I mean, I don't know all that much, but
okay.
I appreciate that. I would say I probably know slightly more than your average pocket knife carrier. What I do know is that when I get on Reddit and look at some of the things people are carrying, it hurts my heart a little bit because they bring out these things that are like, I don't even know.
You're telling me my like
mall ninja knives.
My 56 tool Swiss Army knife isn't cool.
Swiss Army knives are amazing.
Oh, all right.
Seth just pulled one out of his pocket.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I have one on me every day. I carry a straight blade of some sort, whether it's folding or fixed, and I carry a Swiss Army knife of some sort because it's a multi-tool. It's not just a blade. It has one, but it's also got, you know, screwdriver, can opener, fingernail file and cleaner.
Do you do a lot of filing and cleaning of your fingernails?
Yeah, about as much as I do wire stripping, which I just learned this knife has a wire stripper on it. And I was like, no, the fuck it doesn't. I've owned one of these forever.
It's sure the fuck does.
No, wait, but can I see what's the wire stripper? Because I've had one of those for my whole life. I've never known there to be
really
a wire
apologize to you folks in the listening world that you can't see this. So if you look, the only blade on this entire joint that has a half stop is the flathead screwdriver.
Right.
And down at the base of the flathead screwdriver, there's a little notch.
Oh, no way. I never knew what that was for.
That notch falls right in line with your blade. So you knock the wire into that and then drop the blade on it and then spin it around. And strip the wire. Fucking Swiss.
Like, we're going to have to post, like, an
They don't have an
infographic
army. They're a neutral country, but they make Swiss Army knives.
They do a lot of great shit. I mean, you want to see something cool, get a hold of a World War II Mosin Nagant that's been reworked by the Swiss. Jesus, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah. I still hate them for inventing time. with their stupid watches and shit.
Yeah, fucking time. It sucks.
That was a discussion we got into at CC too. I was talking to
space stuff.
Yeah, Tarek and I got in a deep discussion about space time and linear thought and the expansion of the universe and quantum particles and all that good stuff.
We are three-dimensional creatures. We don't have anything but linear thought.
True.
Unless you do a lot of drugs, or you're that guy, that cosmologist that Joe Rogan had on.
Yeah, I hear DMT helps with that.
DMT can help free you from your linear thought.
Maybe I should make that a life goal, is to do DMT with Joe Rogan.
That sounds like a good bucket list item.
I think I'm just going to send him an email and see how that works out.
DMT with Joe Rogan on a crossover podcast.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
shoot him an email and see how
that goes.
Right now.
Oh, he's not going to hear the podcast, but I'll send him an email later. He's not out there looking at like, oh, let's see what's going on in the Portland motorcycle community. He doesn't give a shit. That guy don't ride. But
are you sure? I mean, I guess if he did, he probably would have an episode about it.
Yeah, we would know if he rode. I think there's so many people in our community that are like really into his world and his podcast.
I mean, if there was somebody that would get a lot out of it, I think Joe Rogan would get a lot out of like a cross-country motorcycle ride. But
but I think that's true for
with a head full of acid.
Yeah, well, that would have to happen along the way. At least a camp full.
No, I mean while riding.
Oof, that's always dangerous.
Yeah.
Not recommending anybody does that. That was actually there was an old like, I forget it now, but there was an old biker saying it was like acid and bikes don't mix or something like that. Like it was warned against it. I can't remember what it was.
I believe that. I can't imagine the two would mix.
Yeah, it seems like a bad time.
But in terms of a cross-country ride, I think that'd be life-changing and perspective-changing for anybody who undertook it. Whether you had ever ridden a motorcycle before in your life or not, depending, you just do it in different ways. If you're not an experienced rider, you only ride, 100 miles a day or something, do it over the course of a month and a half. But I don't know. I think a journey like that is transformational for people, whether they're motorcycle people or not.
Yeah.
Being on a bike, just being exposed to the environment as you move instead of being inside a car, being able to look out and really see things in a different way and experience things in a different way is... I know it's brought a huge amount of change to my life.
Oh, I was gonna say it seems like it was a decade ago, but I know that it's not because I haven't been riding in Oregon for a decade yet. There is a guy who a few years back put out a road trip map that is an entire circuit of the lower 48.
You hit every state?
You hit every state, and you hit every major like tourist trap landmark in each of the states. And you can pick it up anywhere because it hits all 48 states.
It's a loop.
You just jump in, take the loop, and come back to your starting point. And that is, Adam wants to be on a podcast with Joe Rogan while tripping balls on DMT. I want to take the lower 48 loop.
I mean, we
on
should
my
do
motorcycle.
That. I also saw a version of that where if you leave at a certain day of time, you stay in 75-degree weather for the whole loop.
I've seen that one. That one sounds dope. But I've looked at it. There's some pretty major mileage on some of those days.
Yeah.
I know you're a 1K in a day kind of guy, but we're not all like that. I'm not a 1K in a day kind of person.
I'm not a 1K in a day. I mean,
I don't know if I have another one of those left in me. I haven't done that since I was in my 20s.
Really? I thought you did the 1K in a day every year for the run.
No. I'm way too busy working the run to do a 1K before I do it. That would just kill me.
The longest ride I've ever done in a single day was 580 from Portland to Reno.
I mean, God bless them. I love the guys that do the 1Ks. But yeah, I can't be functional after that. I mean, I'm in my 40s.
No, I
Chopper Charlie fucking and those guys, man, they fucking killed it last year.
The Portland to Reno ride, I spent the majority of the next day on my friend's couch in Reno.
That's only 580 from here to Reno,
depending on which route you take. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the that's like the Eugene.
To here.
That's like the Eugene, Bend, Klamath Falls, over the pass, right into the corner of Nevada. You're not going into California much.
Yeah.
And it's 580.
Yeah, I did not that exact route, but roughly the reverse of that. I was in Reno, and then I went to Alvord for the night, and then back here to Portland at the end of my road trip. And boy, it felt like a long time. I was definitely thinking, wow, this road would be fucking boring on a bike.
10 hours.
Yeah, Alvord to here was probably 7.5.
There's not a lot down there. Yeah.
And there's a lot of straight.
I mean, I want to go down there and I want to ride that area, but there's not a lot of roads there. I mean, we got a Butler map on the wall right behind you. And when you look at that area, it's just...
It's green. It's very green.
Big green splotches with no roads and a couple of really dead straight highways. It just doesn't look like a lot of fun to get there.
No, yeah. And not that anyone can see it, but the road heading north out of Alvord up to Burns, which is your only option heading back towards Portland from there, has like... You go over some hills coming right out of the playa, and that part would be good. There's some good twisty up and downs through the hills for the first 6-7 miles. And then the next 90 miles are straight along somebody's farm, and then you make a chicane turn by somebody's farmhouse, and then you go another 60 miles straight through their farm.
That's crazy. Yeah. I'm not big into the dead straight stuff. I mean, it's not my thing. I think if I was going to do it...
You're on a Harley. You're on a bike that's, like, designed well to go straight at speed for time.
Yeah, my bike's better in the corners than in straights.
Yeah,
honestly,
you've gone
high speed.
You've put cams.
Well, until I get the True Track system in there, high speed straights are a little sketchy on my bike. No joke. You get it over 80, it starts to wobble. You get it over 130, it really gets scary.
Kilometers.
When you hit 150, you're wanting to cry. It's like the whole bike is just moving around underneath you.
Kilometers per hour.
Yeah, kilometers per hour.
Do
you think that's a product of the lift in the back?
That's fair, right?
Yeah, it's torque.
No,
it's
not
rating.
it's not the lift in the back actually helped a lot. What it is with the increased torque of my bike, I get side to side motion in the engine as well as front to back. So what I've got now that I just picked up is a stabilizer system that locks the side to side motion out, so the engine can only move front to back on the rubber mounts.
An engine stabilizer or a steering stabilizer?
Engine stabilizer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're gentle on the throttle, you can slowly bring it up to speed and keep the engine traveling in a front to back motion, and it's still perfectly fine and it stays nice and balanced. But if you do hard shifts and you bang that torque on super hard, the engine starts to do a left to right wobble, which translates to the rear tire, which then echoes back to the front. And so the whole bike starts to kind of dance as you're going down the road.
That doesn't sound like fun.
It's not. But I've got the way to fix it. Now, on a stock bike, you don't notice it that much. But I have more than double the torque of a stock bike right now.
Wow.
So it wasn't designed for what it's doing.
So, Seth, you were saying earlier, I ride an Italian-era Husky.
Look at this guy. He's leading the show now.
Oh, come on. I'm just trying to keep the ball.
No, I really appreciate this. Yeah, I like the involvement.
Way to go, co-host Alex. Jump in there.
If you guys bring a bottle of whiskey, I'll show up any day.
I'll tell you what. He's going to be making lawyer money out there in Mass. He can just fly back every week, and we can have a three-way. We'll get a fourth mic. We'll have a guest and three hosts.
I'll bring my own mic. It's okay.
Yeah, he can afford to bring his own mic.
But yeah, you were saying there were some Italian-era Huskies that you really liked.
Just
that
one.
Were not mine. Just one.
There's just one. Yeah, and it's just one. I've never ridden it, so I don't actually know if I like it. I just like the way it looks. I like the way it sounds. I like the way the owner of it talks about it, and I have no idea what he's done to it. But there's a lot of this.
Beans.
There's a lot of this shit that we throw out there. So Royal Jordanian is a YouTuber, and one of the fucking 5 bikes or whatever that he's got that are all ridiculously expensive. I really wonder what that guy does. Is he the prince that I've been sending my money to from those emails? Right. He's got Husqvarna Nuda 900.
The Nuda 900 is a phrase that sparks some sort of memory in my mind, but I don't think I know this bike. It's a twin, I assume. If it's a 9, it must be.
Yeah, it's.
Is it a V-twin?
It's real. So this is really. I don't know what the word I want is. It minimalizes what it is. It's Husqvarna's version of the Hyper Motard.
So it's a V-twin supermoto, presumably.
That's a nod.
I'm nodding.
Yes.
I'm pulling up a picture for you right now.
This isn't a production bike yet, correct? This 900.
No, it's old. They don't make it anymore.
Because they showed off a new twin-cylinder enduro bike at one of the Euro.
This is the
manufacturer shows this year.
Husqvarna.
That looked like it would be
look,
great.
There's a screenshot of Royal Jordanian on his Husqvarna Nuda 900. It's effectively like
So it's a transverse parallel twin 900. It looks like from the picture. We don't actually have
the way
any info.
the way the pipes are routed, it definitely looks. They're both coming from the front.
So it's basically, it looks like a supermoto version of the new Yamaha T7, but it's a 900 instead of a 700.
Sure.
It's that transverse parallel. I wonder what the power delivery is on it.
I don't know anything about the
Nothing
specs.
about it.
I just know that I love the way that thing fucking sounds.
Okay, so like maybe
It's
that's
really
the bike.
just like, I look at the pictures and I'm like, those are great pictures. It looks like the kind of bike that 8-year-old me thinks the pinnacle of motorcycles is. And then the way that it sounds watching Royal Jordanian ride around on his, I'm just like, dude, this is a fucking mean sounding bike.
So it is a 900cc version of BMW's F800 parallel twin.
Okay.
Which means it's a Rotax, which means it probably sucks.
Sure.
I like Rotax motors.
Okay.
What's your problem with them?
They have a fair amount of reliability issues, and I feel like
They're not designed to be reliable.
And I feel like they don't make power down low.
Have you ridden the Buell with the Rotax motor in it?
No, I've ridden.
Was it the 1125R?
I've ridden a Rotax engine. I'm actually about that size. I rode a 700 or 750cc Rotax that's in some weird KTM of the 2007 to 12 era, and let's just say it did not feel like my single cylinder Husqvarna at all.
Because it's not a single cylinder.
And it doesn't vibrate. So the 1125 that I rode, man, that thing blew my hair back. But you're talking about an 1125 V twin that's putting out 130 horsepower from the factory. That thing was ripping, and it pulled RPM fast.
Yeah, and
fun.
then you do valves every.
I didn't have to maintain
well,
it. I just
okay.
rode it. I didn't say that it was. I never once said it was reliable or easy to maintain.
That's
I said
the
it was
problem
fun to ride.
That's the problem with a lot of those bikes that are really awesome.
I mean, well, we got into that earlier with the dual sports. It's like it's a suffrage constantly with motorcycles. It's like, do you want the performance or do you want the reliability?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's really come up with a good answer for both.
Well, I think there's a handful out there.
Oh yeah,
But it's
Name
not common.
one.
1290 Super Duke.
I mean, only if you,
I tried.
Only if you don't. I'm kidding. Actually,
I actually think my
performance and
bikes-
reliability. Performance and reliability. No shit. The Yamaha series, Yamaha used to be FZ is now the MT.
Yeah,
series.
no, that's a great
Performance,
bike.
reliability
That
bikes.
MT-09
But
is a great bike.
What do those bikes all have in common?
They're kind of boring.
No, they're
Japanese.
Japanese.
So he was.
Yeah.
I think it's funny
but
that
for
you would.
Euro, I think actually my bike's a good example of that.
Yeah. So let's not go with the modifications you've done to your bike. What's the factory spec on when you're supposed to adjust the valves on it?
Okay. The factory spec on valve adjustment is...
Every 3 miles.
No, it's not measured in miles. It's
Every
measured
3
in
kilometers.
hours.
Every 3
It's
kilometers.
measured in hours, which is all you really need to know about it being terrible.
Every
What is it,
point,
10
every
hours?
every 0.2
No,
hours.
valve adjustment at 21 hours. Also, the fact that it's 21 hours is like... Something about that figure is
Now-
just concerning to me.
Now to get around that, what did you do? You backed the valve
we backed the
clearances
valve-
out until you started puking oil
No,
out of
no,
your
no, no,
exhaust
no.
pipe, and now all of a sudden you don't have to worry about adjusting your valves as often.
You just have to top it off with oil every 150 miles.
and that makes your bike more reliable.
Performance
Okay.
and reliability.
I get
Hey,
it.
yo,
I get
I'm
it.
turning 60. This is a bike that's less than 300 pounds wet. It turns 60 some odd horsepower to the
I
rear
didn't say it
wheel.
wasn't fun.
If you can get by the fact that there's
What's your
oil stains on the front of the engine,
What's your gallons
it's-
per mile?
I don't know. A lot.
Yeah, what's your quarts per minute?
Now
It's
I will
about
say,
smiles per mile.
Oh,
not
we talk about
miles
smiles per
gallon.
mile. We talk
this
about-
is infinite smiles per mile.
smiles per miles is huge when it comes to motorcycles. Because if you're trying to make a motorcycle purchase based on logic, you're just doing it wrong.
If you
You
want to
should
make a
be buying
motor,
a car.
if
Go
you
get
want-
a fucking Corolla.
if you want to make a motorcycle purchase based on logic, there are 2 choices for you. One is the Suzuki V-Strom 650,
That
Or-
Hey,
or
the
Kawasaki
Wii-Strom is a fun bike.
or the Kawasaki Versus.
yeah, those are
Those
both
are your
fun.
2 choices for Smart, or maybe the 700 Super Tenere or Tenere that they're making.
But
now.
even
we'll see about that. It's
maybe
too early.
that's why I said maybe.
No, but it's such a simple design. It's got physical fucking clutch, like manual amp, no hydraulic clutch, a real throttle cable. Like you could fix any part of that bike in the shade on the side of the road.
This is why I'm saying it might be like if you're looking to make a practical decision, you have 2 and maybe coming up on 3
It's too
choices.
early, though. That power plant wasn't in other bikes. It's a new power plant. We don't know what it's going to do 10,000, 30,000, 40,000 miles down the road. It's too early.
700 Tenere is the same power plant that's in the MT-07.
Not really. Like, the outside of it is the same.
I'm going to say right now, I'm really glad that we don't have a huge public presence on our contact information, because I'm sure that we'd be getting hate mail after this. Like,
No, don't get me wrong.
Bring the hate mail.
I have spent hours on the Yamaha website in the past month being like, oh, wow, that Tenere 700, that's real dope. That's the next bike for me. And yes, like, I like that I can fix it myself. I like that it's a simple machine. But, like, the internals of that engine are actually pretty different than the MT-07.
I don't believe you.
Okay, well,
Cite your
you
source.
look at the spice.
This comes from the guy that
sheets.
thought that his Husky engine was the same as an LC4 KTM engine.
It's pretty the same.
Yeah, not according to
You know what's really
Sean.
funny is LC4 KTM. The 3. I realized once you started talking about it, you started talking about engines and Sean Smith and things that he knows about things, and then it came back over to motorcycle engine. I was thinking that you were talking about the LS motor from because we talk about motorcycle podcast, but we talk about cars on here as well.
I don't know how many times Sean has explained to me the difference between the different LS motors. I still don't get it. I know there's an aluminum block and there's a steel block, but
there's a lot to unpack with LSs. That's for sure.
I still want him to put the LS in that Volvo. I think that's gonna be a fucking great sleeper.
Yeah, that's.
I just want Monte Carlo. That's because I'm white. No, because I'm white trash from Bakersfield, California. What do you want from me? That's like the pinnacle of badassery. Most people think it's like a T-top Firebird. No, man. Fucking Chevy Monte Carlo.
No, it's a matte black El Camino body put on top of a Ford F-150 chassis that then lifted to the fucking sky. Which, by the way, is like maybe my dream car. And I was having an argument with Tarek, Sean's friend, about the new Cybertruck. And was like,
You're talking about the Tesla Cybertruck?
Yeah.
Fuck that fucking thing.
No, but Tarek pitched it to me.
That truck looks like an abortion.
I agree. It looks like trash. But then Tarek said this to me. And I was like, okay, I actually get the Cybertruck now. He was like, it's a futuristic lifted El Camino. And I was like, you're right. It is a futuristic lifted El Camino, and now I want one. Please take my money.
Since you're bitching about the Tesla Cybertruck, what year is it?
A 2000 unknown.
It's 2020 right now.
Yeah, it's currently
today.
2020.
What year was Blade Runner set in?
It was set in 2020.
No, it was set in 2019.
2019, right.
What did the cars look like in Blade Runner?
Like a shitty version of the Tesla.
Tesla.
No, I know. It's not a real truck. We're never probably.
No, I'm not saying it's not a real truck. It's got a bed.
No, it's never gonna look.
A friend of mine's
that
got one on
see
pre-order.
it,
so.
Oh, okay. So he gave $500 to Elon Musk. He's never gonna get that.
He might not get that exact truck.
It's
and
never
I'm not
gonna
saying
look
that he
like
will.
that because
What I'm
modern
saying
cars
is,
can't slice pedestrians in half when they hit them in a crosswalk.
It's true. But my point being, I can't make an opinion about that truck until I see it on a work site for 8 hours. That's it. That's what I need to know. It's a truck. It has to go to a work site, and it has to do work for 8 hours.
Bottom line.
At that point, I can make a determination on it, of its quality
Is
of
that
being
true?
a truck.
No, but
see
you know
plenty
now
of
that
trucks.
slant back that goes all the way down the bed. How the fuck are you going to load 2x4s or sheet wood in and out from the side?
You're not.
You're not.
I've seen plenty of trucks driving up and down I-5 that have never seen a day of hard work.
But that's not what the truck's designed to do. And I'm talking about the design and function of a truck. A pickup truck is designed to work.
To pick them up.
Yeah, it's designed to work. And
truck.
if the truck works on a job site, then it works as a truck, in my opinion.
No, but we've had specialty trucks before. Like, there was that great...
I'm not talking about, like, one-offs.
No, I'm not talking about one-offs either, but, like, it was...
Careful how you throw around that word great. Because if you're talking about the Honda Avalanche, I'm going to punch you in the
No,
neck.
that shit's garbage.
Thank you.
No, I'm talking about in the, like, late 90s... I want to say maybe it was a Mazda pickup, but I want to say not. There was a Troy Lee Designs.
The late 90s Mazda pickup is a Ford Ranger. That was the Ford era of Mazda.
And it was just
it was a Ford Ranger badged with Mazda
But there was
labels.
There was a limited edition one of those that was Troy Lee Designs.
Beneath Underwear makes Troy Lee Designs underwear.
But it was slightly lowered. And like its point was to haul your dirt bikes to and from the track if you lived in Temecula.
Okay. But if you live in Temecula, you put a California Baja lift on your truck so that the front end is 3 feet higher than the back end.
No, but like I think the Tesla could fit a niche like that. Like it's got the back that's supposed to drop down and the fold out lift gate, and I'm like, oh, you could drive your bike right up into that. Wouldn't that be
makes
great?
me want to. That truck, air quotes, that truck makes me want to vomit.
We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
I think we wasted.
If they bring that truck
people
out,
who've already paid $500 for one, and
we'll
see.
That's all the down payment is.
I think so.
What are they projecting?
It gets you on the wait list.
What are they? Yeah, no, I get that. What are they projecting?
It also gets your vehicle at way lower than MSRP will be.
So the wait list for, and again, podcast, we don't fact check. It doesn't matter. If I'm remembering correctly, the wait list for the Model 3 was $5,000.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's because it was like actually happening.
Let's get back to motorcycles.
Yeah.
So the Harley Pan American.
I want to ride one. I want to ride everything that Harley's coming out in that new line. So they've got Indian coming out now. You've got another quote unquote American V-twin company that's eating into Harley's market share, and Harley's taking it seriously and trying to branch out into other things. And I'm legitimately fucking curious.
Yeah, I love what Harley's doing right now. Yeah. I didn't grow up with the dream that I was going to own a Polaris.
Okay, so now you're calling out the Harley
Indians of Polaris.
Ad, not ad.
It's true
thing
though.
On Instagram last
it's
week.
True though. I've had a grudge with this ever since Polaris started branding those motorcycles as Indians. You can't, If
you own the label, you can call it whatever you want.
Yeah, and Gilroy did it, and the Gilmore fucking Indians were terrible with the S&S motors and electrical issues and everything. Like,
I mean, Norton's done it right now.
I mean, how many times are we going to rebrand the same motorcycle? Design a motorcycle, put your name on it, and sell it. Like, don't lean on somebody else's heritage.
They tried and they failed.
Have you ridden an FTR?
The what?
Have you ridden an Indian? A modern Indian?
No, I want to.
I have.
But I feel like their numbers are bloated. Like when I look at the sticker and they're telling me that their 800cc bike is doing 110 horsepower, I'm like,
I don't really enjoy being redundant, and I realize that when we talk about this topic, I have to contribute what I have to contribute. And having ridden a Sportster 1200 and an Indian Scout 1200, both with like stage 1 swaps, if I'm buying that kind of motorcycle, I'm buying the Indian
for the motor,
for
the design,
for the performance, for the ride, for everything. I've ridden both of them side by side comparison based on my desires and my preference. I'm buying the Indian.
There's another level of problem that comes in when you're dealing with the Sportster though, is the Sportsters had the same motor for 30 years now plus, like that Evo head Sportster.
Okay, so Harley update the Sportster, and I'll ride them again, and then I'll maybe change my opinion, or maybe I won't. But right now,
slap an M8 in a Sportster. Let's do it.
That's a little unfair, unless you're going to make a 1200cc M8.
But I think that's what we're going to see with the Pan American. Is that I know that it's not the same motor, but I think that we're going to see that kind of power. They're talking what they were saying it was over 100 horsepower.
I want to circle back to your idea about I didn't grow up wanting to own a Polaris.
I didn't.
And no, and I totally respect that you didn't grow up wanting to own a Polaris. But me as not a Harley guy, and I'm not opposed to ever owning a Harley. Like I said earlier, what got me into motorcycling was that first feeling of being on a little tiny mini chopper with 8 bars and my hair blowing back in the wind and feeling free. Like, I could definitely see having a midlife crisis where I'm like, fuck, I just need a Harley. But I'm generally not a Harley guy. And
so you're saying I just had a midlife crisis when I wrecked my FZ10? I bought a Harley?
No, you're still too young, man. Don't worry.
We've been having midlife crises since we were like 12.
Yeah, man.
But to me, that whole ad campaign that Harley put out on social media in the past week and a half.
This is why I'm not on social media.
About like, oh, I never grew up wanting to own a Polaris. To me, that's exactly what I hate about Harley people is like you're buying a bike for this memory, to like reinvoke this memory of your childhood, not to go out and ride a great bike. And I'm not hating on your Dyna. Your Dyna is beautifully built. It's a rad fucking bike.
Well, okay,
and
like
to that
a stock fat boy off the lot. No, is like not a cool,
my Dyna
fun
is
bike to
my
ride.
Dyna. I challenge you, as somebody who is a recent convert to the cult of Harley, my Dyna Street Bob is effectively stock.
It's pretty close, yeah.
It's got an aftermarket intake and it's got aftermarket pipes, but as far as like a real build out performance kind of thing, it's effectively a stock Harley, and it's the only one I've ever ridden that I put money in. Like I fucking bought that bike. I've ridden a bunch of different Harleys. I hated all of them. I rode that one. I'm like, shit, man, this is a great bike. I love this bike.
Yeah, and to your point about what you were saying, Alex, a few minutes ago, I've never looked at Harley through those eyes because I wasn't brought up in an environment where I could ever consider that any bike stock off the showroom floor was good enough. So I'm buying a motorcycle day one with the idea that it's a platform, and I think that kind of fits to your point. Like, I bought a Harley intending to build it to be the motorcycle that I wanted it to be, not buying it to be everything I wanted it to be from the showroom floor.
And I totally respect that. And like, to me, like that, the ad campaign, this, or like Harley saying it wasn't them, it wasn't an official ad campaign or whatever, but this whole idea, like, you didn't buy a Polaris, you didn't grow up wanting to own a Polaris, is just really indicative of what's wrong with Harley. Like, I think Harley could be an amazing company, and I would love there to be a premier American motorcycle manufacturer that really covered the bases. But I think they're still stuck in this mindset that people buy Harleys for the image of, like, I'm the dude who wears the leather vest and I'm in an MC, and not for a rider, somebody who's like,
I would agree
everydaying that, or like caring if their bike's been developed in 30 years.
Yeah, and I would agree with that up until, this new line that's coming out. I think that they're really branching out, and I really have a lot of hope for it.
I think they're making an effort, but
yeah.
I just still see it being in the wrong places. Like the Pan America, the Livewire is a thing of its own. We'll see whether their attempt at an electric bike is successful or not. But, like, why isn't Harley...
I don't like the price tag, but...
Well, nobody likes the fucking price tag on any Harley.
I rode one when... So I rode the Livewire...
I like the price tag on my Harley.
I rode the Livewire when it was a concept bike, and I fucking loved it. So I got on it expecting...
But it's really a big Alta.
I mean, maybe. I've never ridden an Alta, and I can't speak to that.
Well, it's the tech
What I
can
Alta. Speak to is when I sat on the bike, and I was expecting the performance of a Kawasaki 250... and I banged that throttle open, and it lifted the front wheel 4 inches off the ground, and floated to like 60 miles an hour, and with my light ass on sub 4 seconds,
wow,
definitely sub 4 seconds, and it shocked me. I was like, this is not at all what I expected this little motorcycle to be. And then we went out and we ripped the twisties on it, and it handled well. It had plenty of torque. It was an absolute joy to ride. There's one point we had pulled onto a fairly major road, and we pulled up to a stop sign, and there was a 600cc sport bike that was sitting alongside us, and we're in a group of about 5 of these electric bikes, and the guy's sitting there and he's eyeballing me, and we both launch off the line, and I've got my left hand hanging down so he knows that I'm not using the clutch, and I racked that thing out to the throttle stop and walked away from him like he was standing still as he was sitting there banging gears trying to catch up to me. That was epic.
No, I think electric bikes are great. They're definitely our future. It makes me sad in certain regards because I love the visceral experience of an internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
But no, for that, it's great. I just think I would love to see Harley return to an earlier era or get a better grasp on where American motorcyclists really are today. And I would love to see Harley get back into making a single-cylinder off-road bike. That was a champion of their lineup for a long time, and that was their racing effort, was off-road bikes, and they did that really well for a period of time.
My ultimate view of Harley, if I was to they kind of live in this families of motorcycles, and I think that they do a great job with their tour bikes in that community, and I don't think that there's a lot that needs to change there, and I think that they do a fairly decent job on some other things. But I would love to see them do like one nostalgia series, just completely retro bike. Like bring back a Knucklehead and just have that bike in your lineup as like the nostalgia bike for that year or whatever, and then have like some other bikes that are more high performance and more geared towards like mainstream culture. But to keep that root base in there, I feel like they should be producing a bike that's more true to that classic 1950s Harley rather than this leaning on like everything looks like it's from the 80s still.
My concern about them bringing back a Knuckle is falling into the trap of Triumph with their the bobber. Like you're gonna build a factory custom Knucklehead,
but it wouldn't be a custom.
No, it's
so you're just gonna build you're gonna take all the modern tech and all the modern manufacturing.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
All right.
You're gonna use like, so S&S makes a modern version of the Knucklehead. Okay.
I seen it.
Yeah, it's
in the Ghost Rider movie.
No, that was a Panhead.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, my bad. I knew that.
But yeah, they make the Panhead and the Knucklehead, so the technology's already out there to give it that appearance. And then all you have to do is make a rigid frame motorcycle and put a sprung seat on it, and then use your old schematics for your sheet metal for your old tins, and put a Springer front end, and you're pretty much good to go. I mean, just a basic vintage looking motorcycle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're saying vintage looking, so you don't want them to rebuild a 1950s.
Well,
bike.
It has to be vintage looking because it's going to be produced in the modern year.
No. That's not. I wasn't
but is
saying,
it an Evo under the hood?
No, I wasn't saying make it look modern. I was saying take the modern manufacturing technology to build a retro, like a legitimate. Take the schematics from the original engine / frame / bodywork, all that. Take all those schematics and then use modern manufacturing technologies to crank those motherfuckers out.
And make them cheap.
No, I don't think it should be cranked out, and I don't think it should be cheap. I think that fits a niche market, and in my personal, perfect vision of it, they would be hand-built frames again.
Okay.
And to me, that fits the model of, when I think of the kind of person who goes and buys a brand new Harley, I think of the person who really wants a Knucklehead or an Ironhead. An older Harley, but
guy who
doesn't want to deal with the used one, doesn't want to deal with an old bike, wants the reliability of a new bike, but wants the love and the feel and style.
The guy who wants to buy who wants to buy a Knucklehead wants to buy a government military surplus crate motorcycle for $500 and put it together himself in his garage. He wants to buy a Harley Knucklehead hobby kit with all of you get that box and it has all the parts you need minus one or two bolts that shuffled through the slats in the crate, I'm not going to go if I'm looking to buy a Knucklehead, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for military surplus from the end of World War II. I'm not going to go spend $50,000 on an inferior motorcycle.
One that's been in and out of barns and who knows what's garage.
No, I mean, even if Harley brings back that style and remanufactures new machines,
you want old metal.
I want old metal. I don't want to spend $50,000 on old tech. I think the future for Harley is to move forward, and I think that they know that, and that's what they've done with the Milwaukee 8.
Well, and I think so, but to the point being, I think that one vintage motorcycle would be enough to carry through that 70-year-old guy who wants to do one last tour on a motorcycle that's very similar to what he had when he was in his prime.
He's gonna die,
but he's gonna buy that bike before he dies.
I agree with Adam because
he's probably gonna owe money on it when he goes down.
That's the Harley customer that I think of when I think of a Harley customer is somebody between the ages of 45 and 70.
Between the ages of 80 and 85.
Who wants something that's evocative of the past and maybe has the same feel as the past, like you're saying. But yeah, I think to stay true to their
Paradise Harley's got a board tracker right now for sale. You can buy it. They had it in the one show.
But I don't know. If they made a single cylinder, I would love to see Harley get back into motocross and supercross and make a single cylinder off-road bike with modern components and modern chassis. It can still be a steel chassis. There's some fucking great steel chassis motocross bikes.
I'm pretty far out of motorcycle race culture. I know that flat tracking is making a huge comeback.
And that's what sparked Indian.
Is there anybody who's doing a traditional scrambler race like they had in like the 60s?
Not in America. The closest thing you would get is, what is it, Wes World Enduro Super Championships.
Because I think that there's a
but
place
that's like
for
hard
that again.
enduro. It's not a scrambler race.
Yeah, I think that there's a place for that again. I think that scrambler races could come back around, where somebody can just buy a street bike, throw some knobby tires on it, and go rip it. Like
rip it.
And
there's some desert races in Southern California and Nevada that are like that, but they're, 1 or 2 events a year. They're not a series or anything. And for the most part, what dominates those series is either mid to large adventure bikes like the KTM 950, 990, or people on CR 500 aluminum frames.
Speaking of scrambler races, let's bring back the Mint 500. Las Vegas. I'm looking at you.
Well, and the Elsinore 500. I heard that that's back. So, I think that those kind of Grand Prix style races could really help the sport a lot. But in general, I feel like right now there's a huge barrier to racing with the general public.
There's not with mini bike racing. You and I were talking about this earlier, and this is
mini bike
hard for
racing
people
is
to wrap
cool.
their head around because it's not the kind of bike that you'd ride on the road. But that's where you develop track skills. That's where you develop real racing posture and racing skills is on something small.
But your average Joe that just wants to buy a motorcycle and maybe track it every once in a while, wants to go out and be a little competitive. Your only real option is just track days.
The
can do
super hooligan flat track is like trying to fill that niche.
And you can hit a few hooligan tracks for flat track. There's a few race days you can do for motocross and stuff. But I feel like there's a big expense barrier with racing these days. It's just
there always has been. It's not just these days. Racing is expensive.
But I feel like
if
it's
you have a
$5,000
race bike, which is a cheap race bike, you have to be prepared to shell out $5,000 in every turn.
Yeah, that's true. Which I guess that's where that Sunday comes in. Those what are those 125s? Those Sunday flat trackers?
Yeah, those are great. I was actually looking into it. Yeah, Sunday YZF or YCF. What is their? Because it's Sunday is a sub brand of then YCF or YZF.
Yeah. I'm not sure which it is. I'd have to get on the Googles.
But yeah, they make little they're basically built up versions of Chinese Honda 110 engines.
And they're just
sick.
ready to race out of the box.
That's the whole idea. Is they make a supermoto version, they make a flat track version.
Oh, I didn't know they made a supermoto.
Yeah, they make a mini supermoto that for a mini moto track would be great. Like if you were down at Pat's Acres, would be a great
I want to
bike.
ride Pat's Acres so bad.
I rode it on the 610.
It'd be a little sketchy on that bike.
So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go down there and I'll be riding it on a Harley Street Bob.
You're a straight up lunatic.
Here's why though. Because unless things have changed, and they could have, I've been out of the loop for a while being as long as it's been since I got my endorsement. But there was a time at which Team Oregon did their advanced rider training cornering school
at Pat's Acres. Yeah, I don't know if they do.
And
anymore.
I want to do that.
They're also, in addition to that, they're doing a Tier 2 advanced training now.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I want to do that on my Harley.
Yeah, that would be rad. I would think, honestly though, on your Harley, the Mac track is probably as small as you want to go.
Don't tell me how to live my life, Alex.
I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just letting you know at Pat's Acres, you're going to be going 6 miles an hour through most of the corners on a Harley.
Cool.
It's tight. So I thought it was too tight for my supermoto.
I will do it at 10 miles per hour. I see your 6 miles and I raise you.
I would love to see you just cruise around the track at 10 miles an hour in first gear. Blah, 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 blah,
I'm going to
blah,
back
blah.
that bitch in.
Honestly, I'll give you $100 cash if you can back it in on a Harley.
If anybody has... you'll give me $100 cash.
If
I can back it in on a Harley.
If you can back it in to a 90-plus degree turn on a Harley...
Oh, so now there's criteria.
No, whatever, fine.
Because
any turn. If you can back it in and come out the other side smoothly on a Harley, I'll give you $100.
So I'll take that $100. No, I mean right now. Hand it to me.
Can you just toss me out?
I've seen him do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Back it in, dump the clutch, light it up, out, lift the front wheel? Well,
no, I
probably
don't
not
lift
hard.
the front wheel.
Oh, well. That's
No,
a
but-
supermoto turn. You back it in, and then you light it up through the apex, and you lift that front wheel a little bit on the out.
So not only have I done it on multiple occasions in front of Adam,
On your sporty?
it's a street bob.
Or
sir.
your street bob?
Yeah, I
Jesus,
ride it.
don't
I don't
call it
ride
a
a
sporty.
I don't ride a girl. I don't ride a girl's bike.
I'm not doing that.
I really like the sporty. Honestly, if I had
I
bought
do
a
too.
Harley, I'd probably buy a sporty.
I was a little bummed out. There's a Sportster that's floating around through the community that belonged to somebody, and I wanted to buy it, and then it got bought by somebody else. Because I want two bikes. I want to build out a bike for longer riding, and then I want to have an around town fuck around bike. And I think that the short day ride, around town fuck around. So again, I like the Sportster. I like the way a lot of them look, and I wouldn't buy a Sportster. I would buy an Indian Scout 1200 bobber.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I like the idea of getting like an 800
Not only-
sporty, doing a 1200 conversion, do a chain conversion, different shocks. Like, I think it'd be a great bike.
not only those big open rides out on the road with Adam, but right after I replaced my tires on my Street Bob, I took it out for a test ride to make sure everything felt like it was doing what it was supposed to do, and I backed it in around the corner on a surface street.
All right.
Damn.
Yeah,
You backed it in with those Avons on there?
yeah.
That's
Wow.
impressive.
Brand new.
Oh,
so
okay.
they had like whatever
Yeah, they-
releasing agent.
Literally brand new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, I just
Yeah,
had put them on
yeah.
the bike, and I took it out, and I was coming around the corner, and I'm like, I'm going to take this hot. I don't give a shit. And I whacked it open and stepped the back end out and backed it in around that corner. And then,
Backing it in while accelerating, though?
yeah, I
Yeah.
did not back off till I came through.
Yeah, that's different. Backing in on a supermoto is a way to slow down.
Why would I
Backing it
want to
in-
slow down?
Because you have to slow down.
Ride fast, eat ass.
I have that hat. I love that vibe.
So I got a fun story. My brother was looking to buy a Harley. He's got a KTM dual sport he's been riding for forever. And for months before I went down to visit him, I was like, hey, man, I'm going to bring my bike down. I'm going to let you ride it. But you got to know that this is not your average Harley. Like, when you ride it, you got to be careful.
This is
And
your
he's like,
built Dyna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like,
It's
oh.
fast.
He's like, I'm like,
It real fast.
I'm like, it's fast. It's fast. He's like, oh, yeah, it's cool, man. I've ridden fast bikes. Blah, blah. I'm like,
Well,
no,
I
you
rode Dad's bike. He built it.
So I bring it down there, and I get on his KTM, and he gets on my Dyna, and we get out of the parking lot and hit the first straight stretch, and he just whacks that throttle wide open in second gear, and the back end steps out 2.5 feet, and he launches down the street, and he's doing 80 miles an hour in like a city block. And we get up to the stop sign, and I was like, how is that? And he's like, you didn't say it was that kind of fast. I was like, for 2 months I've been telling you it's that kind of fast. Like,
You know, I don't think I've asked you this question. Have you, growing up, where you grew up, how you grew up, around the bikes and the way that you did, Adam, has your dad ridden your bike?
he hasn't.
How do you feel? Are you going to let him?
Oh, I'd let him if he wants to ride it. Yeah.
Does
totally.
your dad still ride?
Yeah. What
What does he ride?
So he's the bike he's on right now.
He's got a Softail
he's got a
Crossbones.
few. It's not a Crossbones. He's got a '97 Softail custom with a motor that's custom built by him. He went really nuts. Didn't go for large displacement. He didn't go for high compression. He just went for pulling RPM as fast as he could in each gear, and he bought like the top 3 brands of every component he was going to swap out on his bike. He would swap out a part, go out, do a couple 100-foot runs, figure out how fast the bike accelerated, go back, swap out the parts to the next one, go out, run them for 100 feet. And he built an amazing Evo motor. That thing just blows the doors off of everything except for my bike.
Ah. So
Which
are you
is-
really just chasing dad's bike?
Absolutely. Yeah, I make no bones about that. Everybody asks me, like, why do you ride a Harley? And I said, well, when my dad built his bike, I got it in my head that one of these days I was going to have a Harley, and it was going to be faster than my dad's Harley. And, yeah, so there was the first time my dad saw my bike, I was in Eugene when I called him, and he was in Coos Bay. And so we agreed that he was going to start riding from Coos Bay, and I was above Eugene still. I was up at Triangle Lake. And so he got his gear on and started heading out, and I started bailing from Triangle Lake. And we passed each other. I was just south of Florence when I went by him, and before he could get his bike pulled over to the shoulder, I had locked up my back tires, slid the bike sideways, banged up to 115, and blew by him like he was standing still.
All right.
So we ride into Florence like that, pull into Safeway, and he's like, I don't know what you got going on with that motor, but that bike is fucking fast.
To me, that's one of the worst stretches of 101.
I love it.
No, it's beautiful.
It's terrible.
It's beautiful, but the wind.
Corners are bank fucked up. There's a lot of wind.
That bridge out of the southern end of downtown Florence into whatever that next town is. I've been on that in the right. It's 2 lanes in each direction for those of you who are listening. I've been in the right-hand lane, and all of a sudden ended up in the right-hand lane of oncoming traffic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With nothing on the bike. I'm on a fucking dirt bike, just me, and the wind there. I mean, it howls 110 miles an hour through that gully.
It's the coast. They don't even. So when they say that it's quote unquote gusty, that means winds of 70 miles an hour or more. And if they're like, it's going to be windy outside and you should take cover, take care of yourself out there, it's 100 miles an hour plus. And that's, everywhere else in the world, that's considered hurricane force winds. On the Oregon coast, they're
it's just a Wednesday.
Wear a hat.
I was going to say Tuesday, but yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
it's going to be a little blustery. Meanwhile, there's hay sticking out of the side of telephone poles,
I mean, I've had a friend who was riding his. He rides a Shadow Ace 750, first bike he bought right after passing his motorcycle endorsement course.
It's a solid first bike.
Only bike he's ever owned. Still has it to this day. That's what he rides.
Man, that's the dream. You get your first bike and you're like, I'm just happy with this. I can stay home.
He used to commute through San Francisco. And loved it because living in California, you can lane split, and a commute that would take you an hour and a half in traffic takes half an hour because you can split through lanes. But he's told stories about going over the Bay Bridge and getting hit by a gust and moving over 3 lanes.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
It's freaky. I've had it happen many times. And I've had a Honda 750, and I love that bike to death. And if it wasn't for my ego, that bike is everything I need it to be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I am
the mold
of ego, and I have to be that guy sometimes. And the bike that I have now allows me to be that guy.
Because it's pretty.
It's pretty. I'm on the same train. The Supermoto is definitely a lifestyle and aesthetic choice that you make. It's not the kind of bike that you plot around town on and get to where you're going to be. It turns you into a hooligan. Whether you are or you aren't, it turns you into a hooligan.
How much trouble are you going to get in if you don't call your wife at 4:30 because it's 5?
It's
I thought you meant on my bike, and I was like, you're right, it's 5. I know, I already told her that 4 was unrealistic and that I'd just text her when I thought we were done. And she, quote, just let me know. I'm probably not down, but I'll let you know. So,
what a sweetie.
TBD. The fact that she was willing to come across town at the end of the day and pick me up because I got drunk with my buddies.
At the end of the day, it's Sunday.
Yeah, it's the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's like
Sunday. What day is it?
It's the weekend, man.
What day is it?
It's a weekend.
But what day exactly?
Sunday.
Sunday.
That's DJ Adam.
Sunday at Atomized Vape Shop.
We're racing motorcycles.
Hanging out in the back room with Alex Schwartz and Seth Paddock. We're drinking fighting cock and pulling each other's dicks. No, we're not. Well,
it's
a half truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is
guess which half.
So in about an hour and the rest of this fifth of fighting cock, we're gonna find out, can a Husqvarna 610
carry 3 people?
Well, no, I know it can do that. We've done that before.
Do burnouts on fake hardwood?
I was gonna say, can it rip up fake hardwood? Is it an effective tool for remodels?
At least Ryan's in the room while we're saying this.
I keep saying this DJ Whiskey Adam.
DJ Whiskey Adam in the house. All right.
We're hilarious Vegas, guys.
Yeah, we're over 2 hours. You guys ready for another break?
Yeah, I got to pee
Yeah,
now.
I gotta
All
pee.
right. We may or may not be back.